Chapter 367. Everyone in the arena, including those in the VIP seats, watched this scene with their mouths slightly agape. From a moment 9 one-shot formed the black bow, everyone thought he wanted to use the same move he used on the Godwind Academy to attack Shui Bing. But when 9 one-shot flew into the air with the arrow, everyone realized that 9 one-shot wasn't trying to attack Shui Bing at all. His next move shocked countless people. They didn't understand 9 one-shot's idea at all. Even if one of the short spears pierced through the ice shield formed by the diamond water shellfish, no one knew why 9 one-shot left the other 5 behind, until 9 one-shot landed on the ice crystal ground like a meteorite. Many people finally understood. The ice crystal arena had a diameter of 100 meters. If it landed directly, it would at most crack the ice crystal ground in the center. It wouldn't be able to cause the entire ice crystal ground to explode and cause such a terrifying impact. It wouldn't be able to completely destroy the ice and snow environment and terrain of Skywater Academy. But if there were 6 short spears, they could land on 6 different points and crack a part of the ice crystal arena. Then, when they landed in the center, the terrifying impact would instantly activate the cracks in the 6 points, causing the entire ice crystal ground to shatter. Moreover, there was another advantage to this. Countless ice shards would be released, and the 5 team members in the arena would be injured by the shattered ice crystals. It was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was a brilliant idea to destroy the ice and snow environment of Skywater Academy. But to do this, no one could do it other than 9 one-shot. Because the impact of 9 one-shot was extremely strong, although they didn't know the exact reason, they could guess that it was because of the soul bone. Previously, the elephant armor sect was directly destroyed by 9 one-shot. It could be seen how terrifying the impact was. Not to mention falling from a height of 70 meters, the impact was even stronger. Even if one knew in advance that the other party wanted to do this, it would be very difficult to stop him. But to do this, one would need to have an extremely strong physique. Otherwise, if they landed on the ground, they would be killed by the rebound force before the ice crystal ground cracked. It had to be said that this method was very ingenious. But for other soul masters, it was almost impossible to do it. Just the other party's physique alone was frighteningly strong. Even soul warriors above rank 60 wouldn't dare to try this. And from the looks of it, he didn't seem to have received much damage. Wang Feng was actually injured, but it was only a minor injury from the recoil. Furthermore, when he hit the ground, he had used reverse universe to dissipate a portion of the recoil. After that, he used his soul power to cover his entire body and limbs to withstand the terrifying recoil. Only then could he achieve the current effect. It had no effect at all. In reality, this kind of impact was much more terrifying than many people had imagined. This was because he was using the weight of the mysterious underworld armor on his body, which was why he was able to unleash such terrifying power. Otherwise, if he were to fall like this, the power would not be very strong. He only weighed about 50 kilograms. If Zhao Wuji were to activate his martial soul true body and fall like this, he would probably be dizzy and spit out blood. You can do that, right? Isn't this too strong? On the viewing platform, Ma Hongjuan's jaw dropped. You can actually use this method to break through Skywater Academy's icy environment and terrain. This is unbelievable. Not only him, but the others also had the same thought. How strong is this 9-1 opening? Let's not talk about other things. The strength of his body is too terrifying. Dai Mubai's scalp went numb. Although this method is extremely ingenious, if you want to execute it other than 9-1, no one can do it, right? If I were to fall from a height of 70 meters, I would be lucky if I didn't die. Although the idea of a 9-1 opening was very shocking, the effects were also very beautiful and eye-popping. But to put into practice, just the thought of it was terrifying. Why didn't he use his martial soul? Only Tang Sen was thinking about this question calmly. Why didn't he use his martial soul's power? Although he used his soul power, why didn't he use his martial soul's power? To his soul master, the martial soul was the most fundamental power, not just the soul bone. Tang San was sure that a 9-1 opening soul bone was definitely an extremely rare external soul bone. It was very powerful, but until now, he had not used his martial soul's power. Could it be that he was planning to wait until the qualifier round or the finals to use it? If that was the case, it was too scary. The more Tang Xin thought about it, the more he felt that Jiu Kai was too scary. Using only his soul bone, he had not lost a single round in the qualifier. Even the current situation of Skywater Academy could be reversed in an instant, because at this time, only Jiu Kai and Shui Bing were left in the broken arena. Hey, there was such a terrifying explosion just now. Why is the mask on his face still intact? Ning Rongrong's focus seemed to be a little different, and she suddenly said in surprise. Everyone, although the focus was different, everyone did find that the mask on Jiu Kai's face did not change at all. It's very simple. He took off his mask at the moment before the explosion. Tang Xin analyzed he should have a soul tool. The moment after the explosion, there was a lot of cold fog, which blocked the vision and filled the entire arena. He could have brought it back up at any time. His plan even included such details. Yes, Tang San's analysis was right. Wang Feng really did do that. Otherwise, how could the mask on his face be intact when the black robe on his body was blown to pieces by the explosion of the icicles? Looking at Shui Bing in the sky, Wang Feng's eyes flashed. What are you going to do next? Wang Fengxin thought that the opponent's biggest advantage was completely gone. In order to prevent the opponent from using a martial soul fusion skill, Wang Feng directly used this move to kill the other 5 people. With Shui Bing's current strength, using a martial soul fusion skill would be extremely powerful. Even if he could survive, his identity would be exposed. So Wang Feng simply killed them all and did not give Shui Bing a chance to use her martial soul fusion skill. Moreover, the opponent should not have much soul power left. A powerful martial soul skill like World of Ice and Snow would definitely consume a lot of soul power. Admit defeat? Wang Feng looked at Shui Bing in the air. Without the martial soul fusion skill, Shui Bing had no chance of winning. Unless wait? Wang Feng was startled and seemed to think of something. The next moment, strands of black light suddenly spread out from the green clouds. Black and resplendent rays of light pierced through the clouds and mist, flashing out. Black, 10,000-year soul ring? Wang Feng took a deep breath and was shocked. Her 4th soul ring is a 10,000-year soul ring. Her 4th soul ring was a 10,000-year soul ring. So far, other than him, it was only Tang San. Wang Feng had never seen anyone else with a 10,000-year 4th soul ring. This was the second one. End of this chapter. Chapter 368. Xiao San is the protagonist of the original novel. I have a cheat. How can you have a 10,000-year soul ring? Wang Feng's mouth twitched. Do you have a cheat too? Of course, this was just Wang Fengxin's sarcasm. In fact, it wasn't impossible for someone to obtain a 10,000-year soul ring. Wang Feng naturally knew. The pitch-black soul ring shone brightly, shocking everyone once again. Shui Bing's 4th soul ring was actually a 10,000-year soul ring. This was her 3rd 10,000-year soul ring in this tournament, and it appeared on a girl's body. It was unbelievable. The last round of the qualifiers was too shocking. Even though the VIP seats had seen a 10,000-year soul ring twice, they still stood up and widened their eyes when they saw it again. As the 10,000-year soul ring lit up, the wings behind Shui Bing's back were suddenly covered with countless icicles. The icicles were golden in color, and an illusory figure slowly emerged from Shui Bing's body. The illusory figure was very faint. If one didn't look closely, they might not be able to see it. It was like a fog. A special light appeared in Shui Bing's eyes. It didn't look like a human. It was more like a soul beast. 4th soul skill. I see a azure phoenix strike. Shui Bing muttered. Countless icicles surrounded her body, and she directly attacked Jiu Kai. At this moment, she really seemed to have transformed into an Icea divine phoenix. But there was another special illusory figure around her body. She suddenly pounced down. The huge energy undulations didn't feel like it was her fourth soul skill. Wang Feng was a little stunned. Those wings, aren't they Yi's wings? Wang Feng was stunned. And that illusory figure, Yi was the cub of the Isia Emperor lizard that willingly gave itself to him to become a 10,000-year soul ring. It was named Yi. For 6 years, he had kept it in the soul beast forest with the Star Moon Fox. When he was still in Nodding City, he kept looking after them. Later on, he brought them back to the small forest in the Holy Soul Village and gave them to the green bird to accompany them. The three of them became partners. During the few years in Nodding City, Wang Feng also developed feelings for them. They grew bigger and bigger until 3 years ago, when the three of them completely disappeared. Wang Feng had thought that the three of them were lonely and had flown off to another forest. But strangely, even if they went out, they would still come back occasionally and leave a mark in the forest to show that they were safe. But 3 years ago, he never came back, nor did he leave any trace behind. As such, Wang Feng had sought them out in the Great Stardow Forest, and he had also sought them out when he was training with Erming. He even asked if there was any information about them, but there was no news. The Great Stardow Forest was too big. There were several other soul beast forests in the Douluo world, so Wang Feng didn't think too much about it. With the strength of those 3 little guys, it wouldn't be too dangerous. This was because Wang Feng had used the Golden Lotus to heal every single one of them, whether it was the little cyan bird, the Star Moon Fox, or the Isia Emperor lizard cub. After the little cyan bird had taken in these 2 little brothers, it would often take them out to fight. Every time it returned, it would be riddled with scars. Naturally, Wang Feng had used the Golden Lotus to heal them. He didn't know how many times it had been hollowed out. They seemed to have undergone different evolutions and had extremely high intelligence. They should be the prettiest among soul beasts of the same age. Therefore, the 3 of them should be very strong, and their progress should be very fast. Now that 3 years had passed, theoretically speaking, they should be even stronger. The 3 of them had names, which Wang Feng had named. Xingxing was the little cyan bird. Xingxing was the Star Moon Fox. Yi was the Ice Emperor lizard. It was simple, easy to remember, and catchy. The 3 of them liked it very much. But now, Wang Feng actually saw the Ice Emperor lizard become someone else's soul ring. No wonder there was such a familiar feeling. Almost instantly, Wang Fengxin was filled with killing intent. But on second thought, no, Shui Bing-er's strength isn't enough to absorb a 10,000-year soul ring. Her physique isn't strong enough. Tang Sen cultivated the Tang sect's martial arts and the mysterious heaven method, so his physique was far superior to soul masters of the same level. That was why he could barely absorb it. How could Shui Bing absorb a 10,000-year soul ring? Unless Yi is willing? Wang Fengxin's heart sank. As long as a soul beast was willing to become a soul ring of a human, not to mention a 10,000-year soul ring, even if it was a few years older, it could absorb it. Yi had followed him for a few years, so its intelligence was very high. But how could it be willing to become a soul ring of a human? What the hell happened? Wang Feng looked at Shui Bing, who was attacking him, and his eyes flashed with cold light. No, it's not just a soul ring. Yi's consciousness seems to exist in this soul skill. Wang Feng's pupils shrank. Is it a spirit soul? Impossible. It's impossible to form a spirit soul. Is it a soul bone? Yi's consciousness remains in Shui Bing-er's soul bone. Previously, Little 3 had said that Shui Bing was not affected by his purple demon eye's spiritual attack, which meant that her spiritual power was different from ordinary people. She should have a special skull soul bone to resist this kind of spiritual attack. At this moment, in the eyes of everyone, Ju Ikai, who was on the stage, seemed to be in a daze. He stood there motionlessly. In the air, Shui Bing-er's golden wings of ice spread out as she descended, carrying a terrifying amount of energy. She was like a divine phoenix from the 9 heavens, and the enormous phantom around her seemed to be formed from energy. When she let out a low roar, there was a faint aura that could shake the 9 heavens. Stop! In the VIP seats, several voices roared out. Obviously, this move of Shui Bing Urs had a strong energy fluctuation that was beyond imagination. Needless to say, Shui Bing, Urs' 10,000-year soul ring, was definitely not simple. If he took this move head-on, he would definitely not be able to survive. Perhaps Shui Bing herself did not expect her fourth soul skill to be so strong. Wang Feng was able to see that. He could see it from her eyes. It seemed that the strength of her fourth soul skill was beyond her imagination. Or rather, she had not used it many times. Quickly leave the stage. Wang Feng could read the meaning in Shui Bing's eyes. This soul skill did not seem to be completely under her control. Everyone held their breaths as they stared at this scene. Even their breathing seemed to have stopped. At this moment, Jiu Kai did not put up any defense. But when Jiu Kai made his move, he did not dodge. He only placed his index finger and thumb in his mouth under the mask and blew leisurely. Should a clear, resonant, and unique whistle came out from Wang Feng's mouth. Everyone was at a loss and did not understand what it meant. They did not know why Jiu Kai whistled at this moment. However, when the whistle was blown, the sound of the whistle was heard. Bang! The ice-green divine phoenix that Shui Bing had transformed into stopped. It was as if she had slammed on the brakes and stopped in mid-air. Her golden icicle wings stopped flapping in mid-air. The terrifying energy instantly stagnated and then scattered in mid-air. It turned into countless energy torrents. The huge energy wave poured down and scattered into an icy green energy halo that extended in all directions. End of this chapter. Chapter 369. A series of crisp cries rang out from the mouth of the huge, illusory figure of the divine ice phoenix that was already circling around it. It was as if it was responding to the whistle subconsciously. Then, the divine ice-green phoenix disappeared, and so did Shui Bing, Er's martial soul possession. She fell directly from the sky, her face pale and her eyes confused. Wang Feng gently waved his sleeve, and countless black lights quickly flew into the air and then wrapped around Shui Bing, forming a huge parachute shape, which slowed down Shui Bing's falling speed. Finally, she landed on the ground smoothly. Seeing this scene, instantly, everyone turned into stone statues. Shui Bing's last 10,000-year soul skill, such a powerful move, was actually dispelled just like that? Just because of Jiu Kai's whistle? No one could understand this scene. Even the grandmasters in the stands couldn't understand. Even the titled Douluo Gu Rong couldn't understand. She couldn't understand at all. How was it dispelled? Was this whistle a sound wave attack? It directly disrupted the soul power undulations in Shui Bing's body and dispelled this move? But even if it was a sound wave attack, there would still be soul power undulations when it was released. But it was just an ordinary whistle. There was confusion in the shock and confusion in the strangeness. This extremely dramatic scene caused the entire audience to be silent. On the stage, the referee was dumbfounded and still hadn't recovered from the shock. It could probably be recorded in the history of the Heaven Do Empire. It was too strange and dramatic. No one could have expected the 360-degree twist at the end to be like this. Shui Binger coughed a few times and stood up from the stage. After a moment of silence, she walked towards Jiu Kai and said softly, "Thank you. I shouldn't have used my fourth soul skill just now. But you?" Jiu Kai didn't say anything. He snorted and turned to leave. Shui Binger frowned slightly. She was as curious and confused as many people, but she vaguely knew why her fourth soul skill was dispelled and had some guesses. She wanted to ask Jiu Kai many questions, but she didn't expect him to turn and leave. However, this wasn't the right time. Shui Binger shook her head and walked to the referee. "Our Skywater Academy lost." The referee came back to his senses and announced in a trembling voice, "Purple Star College, 9-1 victory." When this voice rang out, in an instant, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Although they didn't know how 9-1 won in the end, it should be the most exciting, most dramatic, and most interesting team competition in the qualifiers. Under the leadership of Shui Binger, Skywater Academy displayed a strong dominance over the arena, but all of their efforts were neutralized by 9-1. Finally, Shui Bing-er's 10,000-year soul skill was also dispelled by Jiu Ikai's strange whistle. This was probably one of the top 10 inconceivable, unsolved mysteries of soul skills. The month-long competition had finally come to an end. The joke that had been used at the opening ceremony had now become a reality. 9-1, one to win the entire competition. He was a legendary figure. Putting aside the Heavendo Empire, at the very least, the name 9-1 Kai would become a household name in the surrounding cities. If it was the previous year's competition, being first in the preliminary round would make one famous. But it was absolutely impossible for it to reach such a level. However, 9-1 Kai was an exception. He didn't use his martial soul or soul skill. He only used his mysterious soul bone to fight until the last match. The key point was that every match was equally exciting and gave people a sense of shock that it was possible to win the competition in such a way. Skywater Academy also became famous because they were the only ones who broke the 10-second curse. They were the only ones who could last for more than 10 seconds against 9-1 Kai. Furthermore, they lasted for quite a long time. Although the 10-second curse was just a gimmick shouted by the audience, it did make Skywater Academy even more famous. What a mind-blowing match! Tang San and the others looked at the arena where the cheers shook the sky. Teacher, do you know how 9-1 Kai dispelled Shui Bing-er's soul skill? Tang San really couldn't figure it out, so he walked up to the Grandmaster and asked. However, the Grandmaster and the other teachers were all silent at this moment. Clearly, they hadn't recovered from the previous match. I don't know either. The Grandmaster was silent for a long time and shook his head. He really didn't understand. With his understanding of martial souls and soul beasts, he really didn't understand. How could a whistle dispel Shui Bing-er's powerful 10,000-year soul skill? It didn't make sense at all. You can go and ask Lin Feng later. The Grandmaster thought for a while and said slowly, Little Feng's understanding and application of soul skills is better than mine. Hearing this, Tang San was stunned. At this moment, a lazy voice sounded. Little San, what do you want to ask? Tang San turned around to look. He didn't know when, but he saw Brother Feng walking over from the spectator stands. At this moment, the others also surrounded him. Brother Feng, you saw the match just now, right? What happened at the end? Xiao Wu hurriedly asked. The few of them felt as if their hearts were being scratched again, itching very much. I saw it. Wang Feng yawned. The reason is very simple. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. The reason was simple? An ordinary whistle could dispel such a terrifying soul skill. This didn't conform to the normal rules at all. Think about it. How powerful was Shui Bing-er's soul skill just now? Wang Feng said casually, Is that a normal rank 47 soul master's soul skill? Grandmaster, what rank do you think a normal soul skill needs to have that kind of soul power fluctuation? The Grandmaster said without hesitation, at least a 6 soul skill can release that kind of soul power fluctuation. It can be seen that the soul ring Shui Bing-er absorbed is very powerful. Even if it's only a 10,000-year soul beast soul ring, this soul beast must be very powerful. It's like the Titan giant ape. A few hundred-year Titan giant ape is comparable to 1,000 or even 10,000-year Titan giant ape. Maybe Shui Bing-er's soul beast can't be compared to the Titan giant ape, but it's still very powerful. So, Wang Feng smiled. It's a soul skill that can only be used by a rank 61 soul emperor. You let a rank 47 soul ancestor use it. Do you think Shui Bing-er can control it? Everyone was stunned. The Grandmaster nodded. Yes, she can't control it. This isn't a control-type soul skill. It's an attack-type soul skill. The soul power fluctuation is too strong. Wang Feng continued. She can't control her soul skill, which means that after she used it, her entire being was in a mess. Her consciousness was affected by the soul power undulations brought about by the soul skill, and she wasn't clear-headed. The circulation of her soul power is also very chaotic. It seems very powerful. In fact, that whistle instantly awakened Shui Bing-er's consciousness and broke the circulation of her soul power. It cleverly dispelled her opponent's soul skill. End of chapter. Chapter 370. Wang Feng smiled and said, "Simply put, when we break through a bottleneck, we will often release extremely powerful soul power undulations. However, if you are accidentally pushed by someone else, or if you are woken up, then can you still break through the bottleneck?" Similarly, she can't fully use her soul skill, and it might even disperse automatically. Hearing Wang Feng's words, everyone was stunned for a moment. They faintly felt that it made sense. The more they thought about it, the more they felt it made sense. "I see." Tang Sun was the first to come back to his senses. The others also came back to their senses. It turned out that Shui Bing couldn't control her fourth soul skill. She couldn't fully use her soul power, which was why it was cleverly interrupted. Wang Feng smiled and didn't say anything, but there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. In fact, that wasn't the reason. Only part of what he said was true. Shui Bing couldn't control her soul skill, but she could fully use it. It was just that they couldn't see it. The reason why he could use the whistle to interrupt it was naturally because this soul skill was instinctively controlled by the consciousness of the Icy Emperor Lizard. He might be dead, but its soul must still be there. Wang Feng could feel a familiar consciousness from Shui Bing's fourth soul skill. Perhaps others would think that it was the power of a soul beast with a 10,000-year soul ring. That whistle was the command used by the three of them when they were together. Every time he returned to the Holy Soul Village and blew the whistle, the three of them would automatically appear if they were there. Therefore, the three of them were very familiar with the command whistle. Just now, in order to verify whether the consciousness in the 10,000-year soul ring belonged to Yiya, he blew the whistle. And it turned out that Wang Feng's guess was right. Of course, that soul skill wasn't broken because Shui Bing couldn't control it and couldn't fully release it. It was because Yiya's consciousness instinctively dispersed the power of the soul skill after hearing the whistle. His soul definitely still exists in Shui Bing's body. My golden lotus token has been awakened for a long time. Its soul is far stronger than ordinary soul beasts. Even if it was absorbed into a soul ring, it should still retain a remnant of its soul consciousness in the soul bone. Wang Fengxin muttered, "It seems that I have to find time to ask Shui Bing." After absorbing the soul ring of the Icy Emperor Lizard, the Icy Emperor Lizard had already evolved due to the power of the Golden Lotus. That was why her martial soul had mutated. The original Ice Phoenix had mutated into the Azure Divine Phoenix. Furthermore, she had become extremely powerful. After absorbing the Azure Divine Phoenix, her soul power had definitely increased by a lot. That was why her soul power rank was so high. Furthermore, there are definitely soul bones as well. Back then, the Icy Emperor Lizard, which had voluntarily given up its second soul ring, had also appeared on its own accord. However, it had been very weak at the time and hadn't condensed a soul bone yet. Therefore, he didn't obtain a soul bone. But Yiya was different. "I've raised all of you with the Golden Lotus for so many years. You can't just die like this." Wang Fengxin murmured. Indeed, he had been raising them for a long time. The longest was the little blue bird, followed by the Star Moon Fox and the Icy Emperor Lizard. Yiya was something that Wang Feng had promised the Icy Emperor Lizard to take care of. If he really died, Wang Feng would feel guilty. Among them, the little blue bird was the most noisy. It was also the most injured. The other two were still fine. However, after following the little blue bird, they became noisy too. They often went out to fight. Every time he returned to the Holy Soul Village, he would see these three fellows on the verge of death. There's still an awards ceremony later. I won't be attending it. I'll go back first. Wang Feng waved his hand at them and left temporarily. After the preliminaries, the 5 qualified teams had to present the Snowy Night Emperor with an award ceremony and a qualification certificate. Soon, the 5 teams that had appeared were led by their captains. They walked up to the VIP stands. Wang Feng naturally went as well, as he had a 9-to-1 chance. Furthermore, he couldn't be absent, and he couldn't let anyone replace him. Otherwise, he would be easily discovered at such a close distance. However, many people in the VIP stands were still in a daze. Evidently, they hadn't recovered from the earlier competition. Fortunately, the Snowy Knight Emperor, Bishop Sakas, and Ning Fengji were still conscious. They quickly gave the 5 teams their prizes and certificates. The prizes were actually very ordinary. They were just 10,000 gold soul coins. After all, this was only the preliminaries. However, the Snowy Knight Emperor had conferred the titles of Viscount to the captain and vice-captain of each team, while the other team members were conferred the title of Baron. Evidently, he wanted to rope in the 5 academies for the imperial family. This made Bishop Sakas a little unhappy. However, the Snowy Knight Emperor was the emperor of an empire. He naturally shut Bishop Sakas up with a few words. These 5 academies are the children of the Heaven Do Empire. The title of nobility is just an additional reward that I gave them. It has nothing to do with the martial spirit hall. If Bishop Sakas feels that it's inappropriate, you can give them the position of deacon. Bishop Sakas' expression was a little gloomy. However, his expression changed when he looked at the 9-to-1 chance. All positions in the martial spirit hall had to be reported to the main hall. The higher the rank, the more so. Even if he was a platinum bishop, he couldn't just appoint people as he wished. After all, the Snowy Knight Emperor was the emperor of an empire. He had the right to confer titles. He was only a platinum bishop. There were elders and popes above him. Next up is the promotion round. The Snowy Knight Emperor looked at the 5 teams and smiled. The promotion round will not be held in the Heaven Do City's Seoul dueling arena. It will be held in the Imperial Enclosure, which is also the military camp. At that time, other than the 5 of you, there will also be 10 other teams from the other regions of the Heaven Do Empire and the 5 great kingdoms. The promotion round is the best place for you to display your individual strength. I'm sure you're already clear about the rules. I hope you'll do your best. In addition, the Imperial family will provide the 3 students with the most victories in the promotion round with the soul rings you need for your next breakthrough. You can choose any soul beast under 30,000 years old. This promise and reward were added by the Imperial family. It had to be said that they were very sincere. The next promotion round would be at rank 50. At rank 50, one could absorb a 10,000-year soul ring. This was extremely important to every soul master. The captains of the 5 teams were a little excited after hearing the Snowy Knight Emperor's words. The Snowy Knight Emperor looked at the captains of the 5 teams and nodded slightly when he saw the passion in their eyes. However, when he saw the calm look in Jiuikai's eyes, he paused for a moment but didn't say anything. After the awards ceremony, the 5 teams left one by one. The promotion round would be held a month later. They had a month to improve or break through. Usually, the best time to break through was after a big battle. Wang Feng walked back to Purple Star College's lounge. He wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he was waiting. "You're not in a hurry to leave today?" Dean Fei Luan happily took the car that stored the gold soul coins. This Jiu Ikai didn't even care about gold soul coins. He only wanted to participate in the competition. As the dean of Purple Star College, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Not rejecting Jiu Ikai's offer was the best decision he had made in his life. End of chapter. Chapter 371. Now, Purple Star College was famous, although it was only because of 9-1 Kai. But because of 9-1 Kai, Purple Star College would definitely not be unknown in the future. It would attract countless students and even teachers to join. If 9-1 Kai could also achieve outstanding results in the finals, Dean Fei Luan did not dare to think about becoming the champion. After all, he was only one person, but he could enter the top 5 or even top 3. In the future, Purple Star College would definitely become one of the top colleges in the entire continent. The advancement competition will start in a month. During this time, you don't have to come to the college. Dean Fei Luan laughed. "To be honest, child, although I don't know who you are, you have given me too many surprises. However, you have given me too many surprises. From the first match to the last one. However, you still have to be careful in the advancement match. After all, there's still 10 teams. Moreover, it's a round-robin battle. It's the most disadvantageous for you." Speaking of this, Fei Luan's face turned slightly red. The remaining members of Purple Star College's team were simply too weak. There was no possibility of a rotation. He estimated that even if 6 of them went up in succession, they would not be able to defeat 1 or 2 members of the other teams. "Don't worry, I won't lose," Wang Feng said indifferently. At this moment, suddenly, there was a knock on the door of the lounge. Dean Fei Luan turned around and saw a beautiful figure standing outside. It was the captain of Skywater Academy, Shui Bing. Dean Fei Luan was stunned. He glanced at 9-1 Kai and smiled. "So, you have an appointment with a beauty. In that case, I won't disturb you." Saying this, he quickly left the lounge with the rest of the team. Shui Binger walked in. The room was silent. Shui Binger looked at the mysterious black-robed man in front of her and said softly, "Thank you, 9-1 Kai." Suddenly, before she could finish her words, she saw a flash in her eyes. 9-1 Kai appeared in front of her, as if he had teleported. One of his hands was like an iron clamp, directly wrapping around her snow-white neck. Seeing this, Shui Binger was shocked. The speed just now was not the speed that 9-1 Kai had shown in his home ground. It was too fast. It was as terrifying as teleportation. It was not even a soul skill, because there was no fluctuation of soul power. Could it be that 9-1's strength on the field had not been fully displayed? Water Ice's face turned slightly red. Because the other party's hand was gripping her neck, she found it difficult to breathe. "Answer my question. How did you get your 10,000-year soul ring? Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to walk out of this lounge." A cold and hoarse voice slowly sounded, as if it could cause one to fall into an abyss. The cold eyes under the mask suffocated her. It's an Isia Emperor Lizard. It took the initiative to become my soul ring." Her throat was stuck as she spoke intermittently. She only wanted to thank Joey Kai for saving her at the end of the competition. Otherwise, her body would have been severely injured by the fall due to the lack of soul power in her body. At the same time, he also wanted to know what his guess was. Hearing her words, Wang Feng loosened his grip slightly. Water Ice quickly took a few steps back, covered her neck, and coughed a few times. She looked at 9 with a complicated expression. "Willingly become your soul ring? How can a soul beast willingly become a human soul ring?" Wang Feng asked indifferently. "Your martial soul's mutation should be because of this Isia Emperor Lizard, right? What did you do to make it willingly become your soul ring?" Hearing this, Water Ice was startled. After thinking for a while, she answered softly, "You want to know? Actually, there's no harm in telling you. I came here to thank you. Half a year ago, I reached rank 40 and wanted to obtain my 4th soul ring. However, my soul beast was an ice phoenix. It was difficult to find the soul beast I wanted in an ordinary soul beast forest. Therefore, I went to the soul beast forest in the north. The environment there was more severe, and most of the soul beasts there were ice type. I searched in the periphery of that soul beast forest for a few days. Although I found several suitable ice-type soul beasts, I didn't absorb them. Until one day, I met a soul beast that was riddled with scars and was on the verge of death. Hearing this, Wang Feng was silent. This soul beast was abnormally strong. Even though it was on the verge of death, even my mentor, a rank 60 soul emperor, couldn't defeat it. After it knocked my mentor unconscious, its injuries became even worse. I thought it was going to kill me, but it didn't. This soul beast's intelligence was very high. Water Ice said slowly. Its intelligence was so high that it wasn't lower than mine. In fact, it could even speak human language. I was very shocked at that time because it was only a 10,000-year soul beast. Even if it had intelligence, it couldn't be so exaggerated. I think you've already guessed that it was this Ice Emperor Lizard. Wang Feng naturally guessed it. Those 3 little fellows, except for the Star Moon Fox, could fly. It wasn't strange that they went to the Soul Beast Forest in the north. He said his name was Yi. He had 2 companions, one of whom was his boss. Water Ice continued, but when she said this, her tone was suppressed, and she seemed a little shocked. However, he said his boss lured away the powerful Soul Master who was chasing them. He escaped, but he was seriously injured. He said that he was about to die. If I wanted him to become my soul ring, I had to agree to go to a place and leave a mark. However, don't tell anyone that he's dead. At this point, Water Ice didn't say anything. Her voice became softer and softer. Don't you think it's very strange? Water Ice murmured. This soul beast is really strange. It's really the first time I've seen such a strange request. So I agreed. Then he took the initiative to become my soul ring and left me his skull soul bone. When I absorbed the soul ring and skull soul bone, I didn't expect such a huge change to happen. However, I can vaguely feel that the Yaya soul beast in the soul bone in my head is not completely dead. Occasionally, it will have a consciousness. It has a consciousness that will appear in my mind when I release my fourth soul skill. So, I can't completely control my fourth soul skill, and there will be all kinds of problems. When I released it, I wanted to agree to your request, but I don't know why. Your whistle, but it can make my fourth soul skill disappear and the consciousness of Ya's skull soul beast disappear. Water Ice thought in her heart. After hearing this, Wang Feng was silent. Yaya asked Water Ice to go to a place to leave a mark. It should be the small forest in the Holy Soul Village. Because when the three of them went out and came back, they would leave a mark in the small forest to show that they were safe, so that he wouldn't worry. Since he asked you not to tell anyone that he's dead, why did you tell me? Wang Feng said indifferently. But I feel that he's not dead. Water Ice said in a daze. I also went to that place and left a mark. But I didn't tell anyone else. Only you, because I also want to know how you broke my fourth soul skill. Do you know what Yi is? Wang Feng. Let me ask you one more question. Wang Feng said slowly. Who is the human soul master that chased them? And the boss that he mentioned, have you seen him? Water Ice shook her head and said, no, he should have been caught. The possibility of him being alive is very low. Because the teacher said that Ya's injuries were most likely caused by a tidal Dalu. As for the human soul master that chased them, I don't know. But when I met Ya, he was biting on a token. Speaking of this, Water Ice paused and continued. The token of the Martial Spirit Hall. End. Ahem. Continue tomorrow. Please count the votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 372. After Wang Feng walked out of the Great Soul Arena, he looked at the sunny sky. The last day of the competition ended very quickly, and it was over at noon. At this time, the sun was shining, but the sunlight that fell on the body did not seem scorching, but was warm and comfortable like soaking in a hot spring. But Wang Feng did not feel this warmth. Wang Feng was not sure if Shui Bing, Er's words were true or false, but the truth should be very high. And the token that Yu was biting, she also showed it to Wang Feng. It was indeed the token of the Martial Spirit Hall. Wang Feng couldn't do anything to Shui Bing now, and he couldn't even tell Shui Bing about his relationship with Yi. It was even more impossible for her to kill something. Not to mention that he had nothing to do with Shui Bing. If she really died, her soul ring would be gone, and even if the soul bone would fall, the remaining soul consciousness in it would definitely dissipate. Because Wang Feng felt that after Shui Bing absorbed the skull bone, even her martial spirit had mutated, indicating that Shui Bing, martial spirit and Yi's soul consciousness had a certain degree of fusion, which led to this situation. It was also very difficult to resurrect her. Because Yi's physical body was gone, only the skull bone and a remnant soul consciousness remained. Wang Feng didn't know if there was a way to resurrect in Douluo world. But Wang Feng knew that Golden Lotus might be able to, but it needed to reach a very high level. Therefore, Wang Feng still needed to let Shui Bing protect her skull bone. After the promotion, come to Purple Star College to find me. I will help you deal with your skull bone and the problem of your fourth soul skill. Wang Feng said to Shui Bing, in a deep voice. Hearing this, Shui Bing's eyes widened. She came just to thank Jui Kai. If he knew how he could break her fourth soul skill, maybe he could cure her fourth soul skill. She didn't expect him to say such a thing. Really, Shui Bing said in a daze. After absorbing the soul ring and soul bone, her martial spirit mutated and became stronger, but Shui Bing had been troubled by this problem. She couldn't solve it and couldn't even tell others casually. It was only after her soul skill had been broken by Jiu Ikai during the tournament that she revealed this matter in her current state. She didn't expect him to help her solve this problem. Wang Feng did not answer and walked out of the lounge. Shui Bing, Er's problem was caused by Yaya's unstable soul consciousness. Curing this problem would be beneficial for Shui Bing but more importantly, it would allow Yaya's soul consciousness to calm down. Otherwise, if she were to frequently use her fourth soul skill in the future, she would be detected sooner or later. To him, the method was very simple. He only needed to use the power of the Golden Lotus to let Yaya's remnant soul consciousness feel familiar and warm before it calmed down. It could even protect Yaya's soul consciousness. In this way, Wang Feng left the Great Soul Arena. Martial Spirit Palace. The injuries inflicted by a titled Dalu and the fact that he was being pursued must mean that he's in the Martial Soul Great Hall. That's the only place where there are titled Douluo. Wang Feng looked at the sun in the sky and muttered, "I hope the other two fellows are not in the same situation as he." Otherwise, at this moment, a dark cloud floated across the sky and covered the sun, causing the world to feel a trace of coldness. After removing his disguise and returning to the academy, Wang Feng found that the atmosphere was somewhat gloomy. Let Xiaosan be alone for a while. The qualifiers are over. Although your results are very good now, you can see how many strong people there are in this competition, right? Don't think that you can relax just because you are monstrous geniuses, the master said in a deep voice, although you only lost 3 games in this qualifier. But many teams still have trump cards that they haven't used yet. In the next month, you need to step up your training. You can't relax at all. Get ready for the qualifiers. There are a total of 10 teams in the qualifiers with many strong people and a very high requirement for individual strength. Hong Jun, Mu Bai, Xiao Wu, Zhu Qing, the 4 of you will definitely play in the qualifiers. Tai Long, Jingling Huang Yuan. So next, I will arrange for teacher Erlong to train you. In addition, Rong Rong, Oscar, and Jiang Zhu's training can't be relaxed. The 10 people stood in a row with their heads slightly lowered. The opponents in this year's qualifiers were all unexpectedly strong. None of the 5 elemental academies were easy to deal with, especially Skywater Academy, which directly crushed them in the second last game. It was a big blow to their indomitable spirit in the qualifiers. One of the strongest opponents was Purple Star Academy. 9-1. It was like a huge mountain pressing down on all the students in the preliminaries, making it hard for them to breathe. In the qualifiers, they didn't choose to fight against 9-1 in order to preserve their strength. The Divine Wind Academy was in the same situation. But in the qualifiers, they were already in the finals, so they would definitely meet. Master, besides Teacher Erlong, can't you let your friend, a 6-ringed Soul Emperor, help us train? At this moment, Ning Rongrong saw that Wang Feng had returned and suddenly blinked. Wang Feng, hearing this, the group's eyes lit up slightly. That 6-ringed Soul Emperor had left a deep impression on them. My friend has something to do for the time being, so he might come back to test you. The master shook his head and said, Teacher Erlong will be enough for this month's training. Lin Feng will supervise from the side. At this moment, Lu Erlong walked over from the side and crossed her hands. What, are you looking down on Teacher Erlong? Seeing this, Ning Rongrong was so scared that she hurriedly took a step back. The others were also silent out of fear. That's enough. Give everyone a chance to gather and train in the plaza today. The qualifiers will begin in a month. Everyone can rest, but you can't. Lu Erlong's charming smile was like the smile of a demon in everyone's eyes, making them wail in their hearts. After everyone left, Lin Feng, this year's Elemental Academy, is unexpectedly strong. I think the Martial Soul Palace and the Star Luo Empire will definitely be stronger. The master looked at Wang Feng and didn't ask about the competition. He only said in a deep voice, you will participate in the competition as 9-1, so you must be very careful. The master also had a premonition that this year was a little different. It was reasonable for him to be worried. I know. Wang Feng nodded. During this qualifier, he unexpectedly heard about the 3 of them. When he went to the Martial Soul Palace, Wang Feng wouldn't be able to predict what would happen. He could only try his best to increase his own strength. But Wang Feng couldn't reach rank 50 in a month. He could only work on other aspects. Now, Wang Feng had mastered more than half of the mysterious underworld spike on his mysterious underworld armor. It would be best if he could completely master it in a month's time. With my current strength, it's not realistic to want to defeat a titled Douluo. But it's also not very possible for a titled Douluo to kill me. But what's the point of running away? Wang Fengxin pondered. In a chapter. Chapter 373. If what she said was true, then there was a very good chance that the other two would become soul rings of the Martial Soul Hall. Wang Feng couldn't accept that. If they didn't become soul rings, then the best-case scenario would be that they would be captured by the Martial Soul Hall. Regardless of which scenario it was, it would be very difficult for him to resolve the situation. This meant that his trip to the Martial Soul Hall would be extremely dangerous. Wang Feng suddenly thought of the system's check-in. There were no requirements to check in at the Pontiff Palace, and there would be additional rewards. These requirements were completely different from the previous 3 check-ins. Could it be that the system has also deduced this? Is it because it will be very dangerous for me to go to the Pontiff Palace? Is that why there are no additional conditions? Wang Feng thought about it in reverse before shaking his head. No matter how dangerous it was, he had to go. He had entered the competition as a 9-to-1 participant for another purpose. However, he didn't think that he would encounter something like this, and there were many variables in his plans. I only have 3 methods that I can use to harm a titled Douluo. After the conversation between Grandmaster and Wang Feng went off to cultivate on his own. The first method was to rely on the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus could kill regardless of one's cultivation level. To be honest, a titled Douluo had a lot of bad karma on them, which titled Douluo didn't have over 100 lives on their bodies. Once they were infected by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, their combat prowess would be drastically reduced, even if they wouldn't die immediately. However, there was a very serious problem with this method. The karmic fire of the Red Lotus couldn't be used as a hidden weapon. Not everyone was as confident as Serene, who would allow himself to be burned by the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, which normal titled Douluo would take his attack head-on. If it couldn't be used as a hidden weapon, then Wang Feng wouldn't be able to use the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Even if he were to succeed once and be discovered, it would be even more impossible for him to succeed a second time. The second method was to rely on the soul-slaying spear. Wang Feng was certain that even a titled Douluo wouldn't be able to completely heal the wounds inflicted by the soul-slaying spear. As long as a large number of wounds were inflicted, even a titled Douluo would die. However, by the same logic, it wouldn't be easy for a titled Douluo to injure a titled Douluo. As for Erming, he was quite large and straightforward, and he would fight head-on. That was why Wang Feng had been able to use the soul-slaying spear to deal a lot of damage to Erming the first time they had fought. But even so, with Erming's life force, he wouldn't die immediately. These were the 2 most effective ways that Wang Feng could kill a titled Douluo. However, none of them were easy. They were all very difficult to achieve. Even if he used the Emptiness Realm, it was still quite difficult. Furthermore, he couldn't achieve an instant kill. As for the last method, even the Pangu axe wouldn't be able to kill a titled Douluo instantly. Unless he reached rank 50 and used the Pangu axe, he would be able to kill a titled Douluo with a single blow. Furthermore, the titled Douluo's soul power wasn't very high. Right now, the Pangu axe could only injure a titled Douluo, and it would expend a lot of energy. Perhaps I can combine the 2. In order to prepare for the trip to the Martial Spirit Palace, Wang Feng had racked his brains for 2 days. Finally, he thought of a solution. If I can infuse the mysterious underworld spike with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, even a titled Douluo won't be able to dodge it. Wang Feng thought of combining the karmic fire of the Red Lotus with a mysterious underworld spike. The mysterious underworld spike was a powerful weapon that wasn't inferior to Little Three's hidden weapons. In fact, it was even more powerful. Its ability to pierce through defenses was even more terrifying. If the hair-thin, mysterious underworld spike were to be infused with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, it would be extremely harmful to powerful beings with extremely high soul power. Most importantly, it would be able to attack a titled Douluo. This method wasn't perfect, but it would give Wang Feng an opportunity to attack a titled Douluo. By combining the mysterious underworld spike with the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, he would be able to injure a titled Douluo using the karmic fire of the Red Lotus. Sigh, what's wrong with me? Why am I thinking about killing a titled Douluo? After thinking for 2 days, Wang Feng was feeling rather gloomy. However, he had thought of a solution that made Wang Fengxian feel a lot better. By the way, I remember that little 3 seems to be in low spirits. I wonder how he's doing? Wang Feng seemed to have thought of something. He walked towards the small wooden hut outside the forest where Lu Erlong had stayed. Losing to Skywater Academy must have been a big blow to them, especially Tang San. However, when Wang Feng arrived at the small wooden hut, he didn't see the disheartened Tang San. Tang San was practicing his blue silvergrass. His mood was very stable. It's different from what I thought. Wang Feng looked at Tang San in surprise. At this moment, Tang San was practicing the distraction control skill. He had already reached the 4th aperture realm and could control 4 blue silvergrass at the same time to do different things. When he saw Wang Feng, he was stunned. Big brother Feng, why are you here? Tang San withdrew his blue silvergrass and walked over. I heard from Master that you were in low spirits 2 days ago. I thought I'd come to see how you're doing. Wang Feng glanced at him and found that Tang San had just finished practicing. He was in high spirits and didn't seem to be in low spirits at all. I thought there was something wrong. Tang San smiled. When I came back that day, I was indeed a bit depressed, because I had always thought that I was at the top of my peers like them, the most powerful. Even my soul rings were the strongest except for you, Big Brother Feng. But I didn't expect to meet so many strong opponents in the qualifiers. At this point, Tang San sighed. Not to mention 9-1, even Skywater Academy defeated us. Moreover, Shui Bing didn't even use her 4th soul skill when she fought against us. In that icy environment, I couldn't find any way to break through. I could only watch as my teammates lost their fighting strength one by one. In the end, even I was defeated. I was really disappointed at that time. It wasn't until then that I suddenly remembered that my blue silver grass was just a trash martial soul. Tang San shook his head gently. No matter how strong your soul ring is, it won't change. Wang Feng nodded. There's a term called the wooden bucket effect. That is to say, how much water a wooden bucket can hold doesn't depend on its longest board, but on its shortest board. With that, Wang Feng pointed to the wooden bucket in the vegetable garden outside the wooden house. However, little San, your blue silver grass is the blue silver emperor, Wang Fengxian secretly said. Tang San was stunned. That's the reason. My blue silver grass is inherently too weak. No matter how strong my soul ring is, it can't make up for the huge gap between it and a high-quality martial soul. So after that battle, I was very depressed and discouraged. I even wanted to cultivate my 2nd martial soul. You know Big Brother Feng, right? My 2nd martial soul is the clear sky hammer. At least this is the powerful martial soul my father gave me. But after thinking about it for 2 days, I didn't choose to do so, because my teacher advised me to wait until I reached rank 70 or 80 to cultivate it. At that time, it would be more useful. But at that time, I was very hesitant, So what? Wang Feng asked. Tang San clenched his fists, his face brimming with excitement. So, I turned the pain into motivation and continued to cultivate. End of chapter. Chapter 374. Wang Feng, you're full of vitality. It's very different from what I imagined. Wang Feng was stunned. He didn't expect Xiao San to be like this. Brother Feng, don't be surprised, Tang San said with a smile. Since a few years ago, Xiao Wu and I have been competing with you. We almost never won. Even after we joined the Shrek Academy, the 7 of us have never defeated you. We failed many times. These 2 days, whenever I'm hesitating in pain, I think we've failed so many times. What's there to be sad about? As usual, after being defeated by you, we'll just pull ourselves together and it'll be over, right? I also believe that no matter how weak the blue-silver grass is, it will become powerful sooner or later. Wang Feng. It seems to make sense. Wang Feng looked at Tang San, who was full of vitality, and sighed deeply in his heart. It seemed that they had changed a lot. For a moment, Wang Feng was speechless. Ha ha, little monster, well said. At this time, a familiar laughter sounded. I haven't seen you for a few months, little monster. I didn't expect you to become more vigorous. As soon as the laughter sounded, the two laughed and knew who it was. Douluo. The last time was a few months ago. After Douluo and Douyin were detoxified by Tang San, he left the academy. No one knew what he was doing. A green light flashed, and Douluo's figure slowly appeared in the distance. After a few months, Douluo's complexion was much better. His green hair, due to the poison in his body, had become black and beautiful. His face was rosy, and his eyes were shining brightly. Old poison. Tang San was surprised. Why are you back? Where have you been all this time? Douluo smiled and didn't say anything. He walked in front of the two, pressed their shoulders, and used his soul power to sense them. Good guy, you've improved so fast. It seems that you haven't slacked off in the past 6 months. More than half a year ago, he remembered that when the two walked out of the ice fire Yin-Yang well, they hadn't reached level 40 yet. After that, Douluo pointed to the room and said with a smile, Come, let's not talk about other things first. Let's play a game of landlord first. These days I've been bored. Wang Feng, are you addicted to it? The three of them walked into the house, and Douluo took out his cards. The cards were already a little wrinkled. It was obvious that Douluo had been playing a lot these days. The three of them chatted as they played. While Douluo had been away, he had actually been fighting with an old opponent. However, looking at his ruddy complexion and glowing spirit, he must have won. Wang Fengxin snickered inwardly. Douluo had obtained Tang San's soul-chasing mother-child courage, and had even consumed that immortal herb. If he still couldn't win, there was no point in living anymore. That fellow, he has been suppressed by me all this time. The immortal grass that little lunatic gave me is too useful. The stronger it is, the stronger it will be, allowing my poison arts to reach a higher level. My body is even more poisonous than before, but I am not affected at all. Maybe I really have the poisonous body that little lunatic spoke of. Douluo laughed heartily and said, There's also that mother-son soul-chasing guts. When I used it, that old thing was beaten up like a dog and ran away. It really made me feel relieved all these years. Wait, King Bomb. Douluo slammed the cards in his hand on the table with a bang. Why did you bomb me again? Wang Feng glanced at him. I'm not the landlord. Douluo was stunned and smiled embarrassedly. I'm used to it. When I have 2 kings in hand, I want a bomb. Cough, cough, can I take the back? Wang Fengxin was speechless. This old poison, his nature hasn't changed at all. When he has bombs, he can't hold it in and just randomly bombs. It's really a good hand of cards that has been ruined. The power of the soul-chasing guts is unleashed by your soul power, old monster. Naturally, a titled Dalu will be at a disadvantage. Tang San smiled and seemed to have thought of something. Unfortunately, hidden weapons are not allowed in the competition. At this point, Tang San felt a little regretful. You can't use hidden weapons, but you can combine it with your blue-silver grass. Wang Feng casually said, If it's used on your blue-silver grass, others will only think that it's the ability of your martial soul. They won't be able to find any weakness. After saying that, Tang San was suddenly stunned. Then, he clapped his hands and said excitedly, I was just saying that I seem to have forgotten something during these 2 days of cultivation. That's right. I can combine the blue-silver grass and hidden weapons. Wang Feng shook his head. He could combine the mysterious underworld spike and the red lotus karmic fire. Hidden weapons were forbidden in the competition, so naturally, he could combine them with the blue-silver grass. There is nothing to say if it was the ability of the blue-silver grass itself or the ability of the soul ring. Even if he didn't mention it, with Little Sand's intelligence, he would soon think of it. By the way, speaking of the competition, I'm afraid you have to be careful this time. At this time, Douluo suddenly put down his cards and looked a little serious. Wang Fengxian was moved. After Tang San's excitement, he directly asked, "Old Poison, do you know something?" Douluo nodded solemnly. "Do you know what the Martial Spirit Palace's reward is this time?" "For soul bones. I think you all know what a soul bone means. The Martial Spirit Palace's reward this time, 2 of them are because of the death of an elder, and the other 2 are reserved by the Martial Spirit Palace." Hearing this, Tang San couldn't help but take a breath. For soul bones. One had to know that the preciousness of a soul bone was enough to make all the major forces fight for it. Not to mention 4. The reward is so good. Old Poison, you mean our opponents are very strong? Tang Sin seemed to understand something. Yes. Douluo nodded. Your opponents are indeed very strong. As far as I know, the seeded team sent by the Martial Spirit Palace this time is the strongest in history. Even the Pope thinks they are the golden generation of the Martial Spirit Palace. There are a total of 3 people, only about 22 years old, but each of them is at rank 55. The quality of their martial souls is the best. Rank 55. Hearing this level, Wang Feng was slightly stunned. Above rank 50, the progress of Soul Master would be much slower. At the age of 22, to be able to reach rank 55, his talent was stronger than Qin Ming's. He would definitely be a titled Dalu in the future. The most important thing shouldn't be this, right? Wang Feng said for soul bones. Since the Martial Spirit Palace dares to give out such a generous reward, how can they let outsiders get it? If we don't stand on the side of the Martial Spirit Palace, I'm afraid the possibility of getting these 4 soul bones is very low, and we will be targeted by the Martial Spirit Palace. In the original work, Wang Feng remembered that because of this reason, when Tang San and his team went to the Martial Spirit Palace to participate in the finals, they were assassinated by the Martial Spirit Palace. This time, the Martial Spirit Palace had caused such a big commotion. The Martial Spirit Palace was probably now discussing how to get rid of them. Not to mention Tang San, Wang Feng, who had only fought twice, would be the target. End of this chapter. Chapter 375. As expected of Little Lunatic. You're right. Douluo's expression was solemn. I inquired about Heaven Do City when I came back. I know about Shrek Academy's performance. To be honest, Little Lunatic, you're much more dangerous than Tang San and the others. Little Monster, although your 4th soul ring is a 10,000-year soul ring. But with your 2 performances in the competition, it's too scary. Yes. Although Wang Feng only fought twice, in terms of danger, as long as the Martial Spirit Hall was not stupid, they could see that he would be Shrek Academy's biggest trump card. But in fact, you're very lucky this time. Because if the Martial Spirit Hall wants to make a move, the first to deal with is not you. Douluo whispered, "It's 9 openings. This person is too dazzling, too eye-catching, and too terrifying. The Martial Spirit Hall will not allow such a variable to enter the finals." Tang San nodded silently. The impact of the Heaven Do City qualifiers had spread. At this time, the other 5 teams that were going to participate in the qualifiers, or the Martial Spirit Hall, would definitely have detailed information about 9 openings. The Shrek Academy would also have information about him. But only Wang Fengxian thought to himself, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with him. He used the token given by Qian Renxue to force Bishop Salas to retreat, so he will definitely report this matter to the main hall, and even the Pope. Wang Feng guessed that in the Martial Spirit Hall, the Elders Hall, and the Pope had a mutually restrictive relationship, especially Qian Renxue's grandfather. The Pope's relationship with this person was not good. If he knew that 9 openings was on Qian Renxue's grandfather's side, with the Pope's hatred for the Qian family, he might even kill him. Bishop Salas did not know these secrets, so he was scared away by the token, but the Pope would not be scared. So, I suggest you don't compete for the championship. Douluo shuffled the cards and put them back in his pocket. In addition to the strong opponents you will face, the Martial Spirit Hall is also a huge threat. You are still young, so you can wait for the next round. Wait, my ass. Wang Feng said, life is still young. Why wait? I'm not waiting. Douluo was speechless. Old monster, you underestimate us too much. Tang Xin also said solemnly, you want the monsters of the Shrek Academy to retreat when they encounter a little difficulty? Then we wouldn't be considered monsters. Martial Spirit Palace? So what? We beat their team fair and square. Does the Martial Spirit Palace dare to kill us all? If the Martial Spirit Palace dares to do that, they're digging their own graves. Tang Xin was right. If the Martial Spirit Palace dared to attack them, they would lose their reputation on the continent and might even suffer a disastrous decline. As for what tricks they might play during the competition, we're not afraid. Tang Xin said with a smile, if we don't even have the ability to face this kind of situation, then we don't have the qualifications to fight for the championship. Of course, I know that the Golden Generation is indeed very strong, and we can't compare to them, but there's still Big Brother Feng. Wang Feng was speechless. Although Little Madman has 2 10,000-year soul rings, he can't do it. The Golden Generation of the Martial Spirit Palace is different. Douluo thought for a moment and said, unless he reaches rank 50, then it's possible. When Wang Feng was cultivating in the Ice Fire Yin Yang well, Douluo also knew about Wang Feng's 3 soul rings. But he didn't know about the 4th one. Not 2, but 3. Tang Xin said with a smile, Big Brother Feng is rank 45 and already has his 4th soul ring. It's also a 10,000-year soul ring, but Big Brother Feng is more mysterious. He said that he will tell us after we go to the main hall to participate in the finals. 3. Douluo was startled. 3 10,000-year soul rings. It seems that we have a chance to fight. Not 3, but 4. Wang Fengxin secretly thought. His soul rings had all turned black. It was just that they hadn't been completely revealed yet. But they would definitely be revealed in the finals of the main hall. That's why, old monster, have some confidence in us. Tang Xin thought for a moment and said, actually, the one I want to meet the most in the finals is not the Golden Generation, but the 9-to-1 odds. We want to see the effect of the 7 of us going up against him. But we will only know when the time comes. Douluo didn't say anything. He came back not only to check on the 2 of them, but also to give them a reminder. Since they already had a plan, he wouldn't say anything more. He naturally supported them. A month passed very quickly. Especially during high-intensity training, time passed in the blink of an eye. During this month, Wang Feng had been practicing controlling the mysterious underworld spike. In terms of soul power, the increase was very small. But Wang Feng could control most of the mysterious underworld spike on the mysterious underworld armor with the help of the Black Hoop spiritual skull. More than 10,000 mysterious underworld spikes. According to Wang Feng's plan, under normal circumstances, he would only be able to control so many mysterious underworld spikes when he was at rank 50 or 60. However, with the help of the Black Hoop spiritual skull, his spiritual power was greatly enhanced, and his control of soul power was more precise. That was why he could do it. But the mysterious underworld spike on mysterious underworld armor couldn't be completely controlled because it was constantly growing. External soul bones had the ability to grow. As the weight of the soul bone increased, the number of mysterious underworld spikes would naturally increase too. Apart from that, Wang Feng also practiced attaching his red lotus karmic fire to the mysterious underworld spike. He could do it because the karmic fire could only be controlled by soul power. It wouldn't be extinguished. As long as it was attached to the mysterious underworld spike, it would shoot out like a faint tongue of fire. It was impossible to guard against. Once it hit, Wang Feng wasn't too sure about the effect. No titled Douluo had let him try it because it was too dangerous. Because of this, Wang Feng gave this move a name, Mysterious Underworld Karmic Fire Spike. It was simple and easy to remember. Wang Feng felt that this name was very good. A month later, in the Academy Plaza. Tomorrow is the qualifier round. Grandmaster and the other teachers placed their hands behind their backs as they looked at the rows of 10 people. Over the past month, you haven't slacked on your training. Under Teacher Erlong's guidance, all of you have improved significantly. Today is the last day and also the day of the assessment. All of you will be facing a special opponent. Everyone lifted their heads when they heard this. There was a curious look in their eyes. Over the past month, they had been tortured by Lu Erlong. Apart from their normal training, they had to fight Lu Erlong. Lu Erlong didn't go easy on them. She immediately activated her martial soul true body and beat the 7 of them up. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be difficult for the 7 of them to defeat Lu Erlong if she didn't activate her martial soul true body. However, if Lu Erlong activated her martial soul true body, it would be very difficult for them to win. Even Tang San, who was immune to fire, would find it difficult to resist. End of this chapter. Chapter 376. What opponent? Is it Brother Feng? Xiao Wu blinked. Although he has been supervising our training for the past month, he has only been observing and hasn't really fought with us. He also didn't participate in our matches with Teacher Erlong and is often not around. In the past month, Wang Feng had spent most of his time cultivating the mysterious underworld karmic fire thrust and would occasionally come to watch their training. The 7 of them had always been curious about Wang Feng's 4th soul ring and wanted to fight it, but they never had the chance. Little Feng has something on and hasn't been around for the past 2 days. The opponent you will be facing today is my friend, a 6-ringed soul emperor. The Grandmaster said plainly and pointed into the distance. Unknowingly, a white silhouette had appeared in the distance and was slowly walking over. White robe, black mask. After 2 months, they were all stunned to see this 6-ringed soul emperor again. Shrek's 7 monsters were still all right, but Tinin and the other 3 substitutes were a little confused because they had never seen him before. He will be fighting with you in this match. There are no requirements for victory or defeat. Just fight as long as you can. The Grandmaster continued. However, it will be an individual battle because the advancement match you will be facing will be an individual battle. All right, you guys go up first. Who'll go first? Hearing this, the Master was standing next to Lu Erlong. Individual battle? Are the 11 of us going up against one person consecutively? Tinin scratched his head. Isn't this a little unfair? Even if he is a 6-ringed soul emperor, he won't be able to hold on, right? Even if there are 3 auxiliary-type soul masters. Jingling, Huang Yuan, and Jiang Zhu also felt a little strange. Only the 7 of them looked at each other. Grandmaster, I'm an auxiliary-type soul master. I want to go up too. At this moment, Ning Rongrong suddenly giggled. I want to spar with this 6-ringed soul emperor too. Can I? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. You're an auxiliary-type soul master. Why are you going up? To be beaten up? Zhu Zhuqin glanced at Ning Rongrong and frowned slightly. She felt that something was wrong. This depends on you guys. The master frowned. However, I suggest that you don't act recklessly. He won't show any mercy. Then it's fine. Ning Rongrong's ability to understand was superb. Grandmaster, Wang Feng felt a little speechless. Although Ning Rongrong didn't admit anything that night, she probably already believed that Wang Feng was the 6-ringed soul emperor. Did he think that I would be merciful? Was that why he said such words? Soon, everyone came to an agreement. Wang Feng stood in the corner of the square, his white robe fluttering in the wind. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking like a peerless master. The first to go up was Tai Long. With the help of the Herculean gorilla, he immediately activated his martial spirit possession and rushed toward Wang Feng. Senior, be careful. Tai Long's body swelled, and his 3 soul rings lit up. He was like a real gorilla, and the ground trembled slightly with every step he took. His soul skills all amplified his strength. At rank 38, even Dai Mubai's strength wouldn't surpass his. Looking at Tai Long, who was charging at him, Wang Feng did not say a word and directly sent him flying out of the ring with a punch. Everyone was speechless. Following this, Wang Feng shook his hand and said hoarsely, "When you face an opponent who is stronger than you in an individual battle, don't try to use brute force. He's the best example. Remember, this is a tag team battle. In an individual battle, soul power is the most important. Remember, I'm stronger than all of you. If you want to beat me, you have to make me take the initiative to attack. You have to hold me back. The more soul power I use, the higher your chances of winning." Tai Long stood up in a daze, and his mind was still a little dazed. As for Wang Feng's words, they finally understood a little. Soon, Jingling went up. His martial soul was a skeleton, but he was smarter this time. He didn't attack Wang Feng after he used his martial spirit possession. Instead, he dodged. It was a pity that he was an agility-type soul master. He only managed to escape for 5 seconds before Wang Feng caught up and kicked him out. However, Jingling's battle made everyone more aware of the fighting style of this individual battle. The third person was Huang Yuan. His martial soul was Lone Wolf. He lasted for about 5 seconds before he was kicked out by Wang Feng. Very good. Now you know how to fight against an opponent who is stronger than you. Wang Feng looked at the remaining Shrek's 7 monsters. Next, I'll use the same level of soul power as each of you and see what you're lacking in the individual battle. Hearing this, the eyes of Shrek's 7 monsters lit up. If they used the same level of soul power and similar physical attributes, they would be able to fight. After all, the 7 of them knew how strong this 6-ringed soul emperor was. The first person to go up was Dalu. After consuming the singular velvet sky chrysanthemum, his martial soul and physical strength were far superior to those of the same level. Senior, please be gentle. I have a date later. Dalu coughed a few times and said softly. Wang Feng. She recalled that Dalu and Tianshui Academy Shui Yua had been very close to each other for the past month. Although they didn't have much time together, they were glued to each other every time. However, Wang Feng didn't go easy on him. After Dalu's martial soul entered his body, Wang Feng rushed over and fought him. As Wang Feng controlled his strength and only used the strength of a rank 45 assault-type soul master, the fight took a while. However, the result was still Dalu's defeat. If I were a rank 45 assault-type soul master, I would have at least 20% of my soul power left. You would have lost in the individual battle. Wang Feng said slowly. Do you know why? Wang Feng had only used the strength of a rank 45 soul master. He hadn't used anything else. Dalu frowned and shook his head. He had fought normally just now. He had even used his soul skills. He had even forced his opponent into a corner and used his white tiger meteor shower to hit him. The reason is very simple. Your soul skills are too wasteful. Wang Feng looked at everyone. Your white tiger shield protects your entire body. Although it's very good, it wastes too much soul power. If I only hit a certain part of your body, such as your back or your chest, you would activate the white tiger's protective cover to defend yourself. Every time you activate it, your soul power will be greatly depleted. Therefore, you have to concentrate the defensive abilities of your white tiger shield on a certain part of your body. Wang Feng continued, you don't have to use it on your entire body. This can save a lot of soul power, and it can also achieve defensive effects. After a fight, you can save 10 to 20% of your soul power. After hearing this, Dalu's eyes lit up. Everyone was astonished. They hadn't thought of this. In the individual battle, if you're facing an opponent of the same strength, soul power is the most important. Soul power is the most important. To put it simply, whoever can last longer will win. Wang Feng said slowly, therefore, you have to control your soul skills. You have to think about how to save every bit of soul power in your 4 soul skills. This is what you should do when you're facing an opponent of similar strength. Everyone was slightly enlightened. It wasn't that they hadn't thought about saving soul power in a fight. However, when it was used in soul skills, one would need to have a deeper understanding of soul skills. Furthermore, soul power wasn't something that couldn't be changed. Although it was difficult to create a soul skill, it wasn't impossible to change it based on the original foundation. Following this, Wang Feng started to fight with the remaining people one by one at night. End of chapter. Chapter 377. Wang Feng fought Xiao Wu and Ma Hongjun one after another. Xiao Wu had already reached rank 40 and was planning to obtain a soul ring after the advancement round. Xiao Wu had the least problems out of all of them because her skills were very simple. They were purely a solo combo. In a solo fight, if Dalu didn't activate his 4th soul ring, you might not be able to beat Xiao Wu. On the other hand, Ma Hongjuan's soul skills were similar to Dai Bai's. They could conserve soul power in many ways. The simplest way was to reduce the area of control and reduce the consumption of soul power. Wang Feng had mentioned this to Ma Hongjun before. Whether it was the Phoenix Fireline or the Phoenix Sky Whistle, they could reduce the area of control and conserve soul power. They fought one by one until they reached Zhu Zhuqing. Zhu Zhuqing's solo fighting strength was stronger than Xiao Wu's. If they fought at night, Zhu Zhuqing's strength would increase tremendously. Wang Feng, with his normal rank 41 soul power and physical fitness, had fought with Zhu Zhuqing for the longest time. Xiao Wu was second. This was because Xiao Wu's soul skills consumed less soul power than Dai Bai's. Zhu Zhuqing was second. Your Dark Moon Elf still has a lot of potential that it hasn't unleashed yet. After the fight, Wang Feng said in detail, a martial soul mutation isn't that simple. Think about that day. Although her 4-soul ring was very strong, it was still because of her martial soul. Your 4th soul skill can split into 4 clones. Each clone has its own strength and can even use soul skills. However, the consumption of soul power is the same. Zhu Zhuqing's 4th soul skill was the Dark Moon Shadow clone. It could split into multiple clones. Each clone had a certain amount of the original strength. However, if the clones disappeared, they would consume a lot of soul power. The clones could also use soul skills, which was very powerful. However, the consumption of soul power was the same as the originals. If it's a one-on-one battle, you can only control one Serene Moon Shadow doppelganger and concentrate on controlling one doppelganger. Furthermore, it's best to release it when you're attacking and not before. If you were to suddenly release your doppelganger when you were attacking me with Nether Stab, it would have caused effective damage to me. Wang Feng said slowly, you didn't release your doppelgangers right from the start and attack me. Although it seems like you have 3 doppelgangers and can confuse the enemy, there are differences between doppelgangers and the original body. It can't be truly the same. It's fine to deal with ordinary soul masters, but the teams that can enter the promotion round are not weak. There are ways to distinguish them. Furthermore, we can save a lot of soul power if we only split one. If it's against an enemy of the same level, there's no difference between 3 and 4 clones. Zhu Zhuqing nodded gently and walked down from one end of the square. Then there was Tang San. Tang San didn't have any shortcomings. He had the Tang Sect's martial skills, and his blue-silver grass had the support of a 10,000-year soul ring. Although his martial soul seemed to be trash, it was actually the strongest in a one-on-one fight. The only downside was that it was afraid of flying-type opponents and couldn't hit them with blue-silver grass. But this wasn't a downside. Those who couldn't fly all had this problem. After speaking, only Oscar and Ning Rongrong were left. They were both support-type soul masters, so Oscar naturally couldn't fight. I want to fight. Ning Rongrong walked charmingly to the square. Wang Feng. After a moment of silence, Wang Feng said hoarsely, okay, then I'm coming. Ning Rongrong turned her hand, and the 9 treasures star glazed pagoda appeared. Then, she added 3 buffs to herself. Wang Feng didn't stop her, and just watched quietly. 9 treasures star. One day. Watch out. Ning Rongrong's incantation was halfway through when her wrists suddenly shook, and 3 cold sharp blades shot out. Wang Feng moved at lightning speed and easily caught them. These hidden weapons didn't have any chance of hitting him. Hidden weapons aren't allowed in a one-on-one fight. You've already lost, Wang Feng said, because they were fighting according to the standard of the promotion round. I don't care. Ning Rongrong ran towards Wang Feng. Her speed was actually very fast. She had been training for almost 2 years, so her physique wasn't bad. Furthermore, the 9 treasures star glazed pagoda's buffs were very exaggerated. This was also why Ning Rongrong hadn't fought in the qualifiers. With this buff, Tang San's fighting strength would increase by a level almost instantly. They could crush opponents of the same level. Similarly, after Wang Feng's advice, Ning Rongrong's distraction control technique had reached the 4th acupoint after the qualifiers. She was close to the 5th acupoint. If not for the fact that her 9 treasure-star glazed pagoda only had 4 buffs, she might have reached the 5th acupoint already. The 5th acupoint could give 5 different buffs to 5 people at the same time. She only had 4 buffs now. Seeing Ning Rongrong acting so shamelessly, everyone fell silent. They felt a little embarrassed. Rongrong is so shameless, Xiaowu couldn't help but whisper. When we fought against Big Brother Phone, did you also have this kind of situation? Tang San said with a smile. Brother. Xiaowu's face turned red. She walked over and pinched his waist. Don't talk about these embarrassing things. Tang San. She doesn't seem to be fast enough. Jiang Zhu said in surprise. Isn't Rongrong an auxiliary type soul master? Her martial soul has mutated, and her body has part of the power of the stars. Her physique isn't bad. With the buffs of 4 attributes, she's not weak. She also learned some fighting skills from Zhu Qing. A normal rank 20 or 30 soul master might not be able to defeat her now. Xiaowu shook her head with a smile. But if she rushes over like this, I'm afraid she'll be slapped away by this senior. Yes. Seeing Ning Rongrong rushing over so unscrupulously, Wang Feng didn't even think about it and directly slapped her. Unexpectedly, Ning Rongrong seemed to know that Wang Feng would do that. She suddenly changed her position. Wang Feng's slap was aimed at Ning Rongrong's shoulder. Ning Rongrong's sudden change made her face the target of Wang Feng's slap. Ning Rongrong even closed her eyes and raised her head. Her face seemed to say, "Hit me then." If Wang Feng slapped her, her face would probably be swollen. Wang Feng's mouth twitched. When he was a few centimeters away from Ning Rongrong's face, he suddenly withdrew his hand. Ning Rongrong opened her eyes and looked at Wang Feng happily. Humph, I knew you couldn't bear to hit me. But at this moment, Wang Feng's figure flashed. He stretched out his leg and kicked Ning Rongrong's back. Ouch! Ning Rongrong exclaimed. The huge force sent Ning Rongrong flying. She fell to the ground and fell on her face. Everyone, although it felt weird, they tried to stifle their laughter. Even Master Lien and Lu Erlong coughed a few times. They clearly saw the situation just now. End of chapter. Chapter 378. This is a typical case of overestimating oneself. Wang Feng said indifferently, Well, today's battle will end here. I still have things to do, so I'll leave first. With that, Wang Feng walked out of the academy. Rongrong, are you okay? With a smile on her face, Xiaowu hurriedly walked over and helped Ning Rongrong up. Seeing that her snow-white face was stained with dust and looked like a little piggy, she couldn't help but laugh. How could he kick me? Ning Rongrong said angrily. Who asked you, an auxiliary-type soul master, to join the fun? Xiaowu said snappily. He didn't hit you. It's already very good that he only kicked you. Look at the others. They were directly sent flying with a slap. Hee. I just wanted to go up and play. Ning Rongrong touched the dust on her face and said with a smile. She wasn't so delicate. However, Ning Rongrong thought in her heart, Wang Feng is too bad. He obviously couldn't bear to hit me, but he still kicked me. Are you afraid that others will see through it? As long as I don't say it, no one will guess it at all. Zhu Qing, on the other hand, was watching from the side. Her eyes flashed with a special light. She seemed to have realized something. The next day, the promotion round officially began. Similarly, Wang Feng would not participate in the promotion round on behalf of Shrek. This was the master's decision, unless there was an accident. Compared to the preliminaries, the promotion round was much calmer. Because it was held in the royal hunting ground outside Heavendo City, it was for efficient battles. In this battle environment, one's strength could be maximized. Naturally, it was impossible to fight in the Great Soul Arena. A total of 15 academies from the Heavendo Empire had qualified, and they were going to fight in the promotion round. The fighting style was somewhat different from the preliminaries. Although it was still one team against one team every day, the competition style was that individuals took turns to fight. When the people from Shrek Academy arrived at the royal hunting ground, the representatives of the other 5 duchies had already arrived. They had rushed over from their own kingdoms to gather information about the 5 teams that had appeared in the Heaven-Do Empire. After all, the 5 grand duchies and kingdoms were all very far away from Heaven-Do City. If he wanted to know the details of each team, he would have to gather information about the Heaven-Do City qualifiers. Similarly, on this day, Wang Feng and Dean Fei Luan came with their 9-to-1 odds. Because it was an individual battle, there was no need for the rest of the team to come. You have to fight 7 people in a row in a day. If you have a substitute, it will be even more. Dean Farron pondered for a moment before reminding Tang Weilin, some teams must have studied you before. If they're just trying to stall for time and exhaust your soul power right from the start, they won't be able to last for 7 consecutive rounds. However, the promotion competition only determines the ranking of the participants in the finals. If you can admit defeat, that's fine too. If they lost in the qualifying round, they would only have a harder time in the finals. A tag team battle was more troublesome than a team battle. In the team battle, all 7 of them would be on the field at the same time, so they could deal with it together. However, taking turns to fight one by one, and there were also substitutes, which was very tiring. Wang Feng didn't reply. To him, it was all the same. The 2 of them walked into the royal hunting ground. A large captain of the Royal Knights came to check the letter before sending someone to settle Wang Feng down in a house in the hunting ground. He would be here for the next 15 days. At this moment, there were already teams in the hunting ground. They were all dressed differently because they were from the Heaven-Do Empire's royal academies. Wang Feng sensed that most of them weren't very strong. Apart from the 5 elemental academies, there were less than 30 people above rank 40 in the 15 teams. Every team only had 2 or 3 people, while the stronger ones had 4 or so. I've done my research for you. Apart from the 4 teams in the Heaven-Do City competition zone, there are only 3 other teams in the Heaven-Do Empire's 15 teams. There are only about 3 other strong teams, Dean Farron said. The Brutal Blood Academy, the Exotic Beast Academy, and the Umbra Academy. Among them, the most troublesome is the Umbra Academy. The strongest person in this academy isn't very strong, only rank 42. However, his martial soul is the Shadow Demon, a special martial soul. It can even attack under the sun. Even if it doesn't attack, it can be used to hide and stall for time. It's very difficult to deal with. The second is the Brutal Blood Academy. This is a family academy in the duchy. If you want to enter this academy, you need to have a special bloodline. Their martial souls are mainly violent and powerful beast martial souls. Their battle strength is very shocking, and they have super explosive power. They can even use their martial souls to activate their special bloodlines and achieve a huge amplification effect as an auxiliary-type soul master. The Exotic Beast Academy refers to all kinds of strange beast martial souls, such as snakes, shrews, and centipedes. Their attacks often contain all kinds of poison, fire poison, cold poison, and even the extremely strange cough aphrodisiac. In any case, it's very troublesome. Dean Farron had done his best to gather so much information. Unfortunately, Wang Feng roughly understood the situation with a sweep of his perception. 9-to-1, are you really alone? As he walked, a group of fiery figures walked in front of him. The one who spoke was Huo Wushuang. The 6 members behind him were all looking at Wang Feng. I didn't expect you to be alone in the advancement competition. Then you have to be careful. Huo Wushuang looked at Wang Feng indifferently. You have to fight more than 7 people in the advancement competition. Behind him, Huo Wu's eyes were burning with a fierce flame. We will defeat you and Shrek Academy. 7? Wang Feng laughed hoarsely. With people like you, even 70 of them are smelly. Halfway through, Wang Feng felt a little bored. He ignored them and walked away. Wang Feng didn't care about the advancement competition. He was now thinking about the finals and going to the Martial Soul Great Hall. When he was about to reach the designated room, he saw the people from Skywater Academy. 9-to-1, thank you again. Shui Bing bowed to Wang Feng in a very formal manner. The day before yesterday, she went to Purple Star College to find 9-to-1 as promised. Wang Feng asked her to close her eyes and then used the power of the Golden Lotus to help her solve the problem of her fourth soul skill. Nothing unexpected happened. Although Shui Bing was extremely shocked, she obediently closed her eyes and didn't know what was going on. Not long after, she felt that her soul had calmed down a lot. Yaya's consciousness in her skull also quieted down. 9-1 didn't say anything, as if he didn't know her. What a strange person. Shui Bing was a little curious. The only thing she felt about 9-1 was that he was strange. His actions were strange, his style was strange, his strength was strange, and his fighting talent was incomparably admirable. End of chapter. Chapter 379. Not long after, the 15 teams gathered and went to the training field in the middle of the hunting ground to draw lots for the competition. The Snowy Knight Emperor, Bishop Sakas, and Ning Fengji sat at the front. The 15 teams drew lots to fight one-on-one. One team would have a bye. If they were lucky, they could continue to have a bye. The first match that the Purple Star Academy drew was, unfortunately, the Blazing Fire Academy. There were no red tape in the advancement competition. All kinds of cumbersome ceremonies were removed. Once the teams were drawn, the competition would begin. It was completely for the sake of the competition. A ring had already been set up in the training field. It was not inferior to the Great Soul Arena. Purple Star College was the last team to fight. Wang Feng quietly watched the first few teams fight. Little Three's team fought against the Balak Kingdom's team. They were defeated by Xiao Wu and then admitted defeat. There was a soul master who used sunflower. He thought he could use the characteristics of his martial soul to poison Xiao Wu, but he was countered by Xiao Wu's yearning broken sausage and was defeated in a few moves. Some people even thought that Xiao Wu also had a soul bone that could counter this poisonous plant martial soul. The yearning broken sausage was a special immortal herb in the ice fire yin-yang eye. It did have some such abilities. It was carried by Xiao Wu and had a miraculous effect on all kinds of flower-type martial souls. Wang Feng also saw Meng Yuran from the exotic beast team. She was the girl whose skin was cut by him with a leaf in the Great Star Doe Forest. He wondered if she met Tang San and the others later. However, Meng Yuran seemed to have changed a lot. Her soul power had reached rank 41, and she had a fourth soul ring. She also fought against a weaker team. Moreover, Meng Yuran was the vice-captain of the exotic beast team. Wang Feng looked at her and found that Meng Yuran was quite strong. She was not much weaker than the main team of the Heaven Do City's Elemental Academy. He reckoned that the team leader was even stronger. What Fei Luan said about the Umbra Academy was quite interesting. They only sent a rank 39 soul master. Her martial soul seemed to be a flying shadow ladybug, which was a concealment martial soul that could fly. She went invisible at the beginning of the competition, so the opponent couldn't detect her. She defeated 3 people from the Shadow Academy in a row. In the end, she was seen through by a soul master with a hyacinth grass martial soul and knocked out of the ring. This hyacinth grass martial soul was a rank 41 soul ancestor. This windletter grass soul master caused the entire arena to be filled with countless windletter grass as soon as he appeared. That flying shadow ladybug soul master immediately revealed himself, and even if he was invisible, it was useless. After that, the Umbra Academy sent out a rank 41 Chameleon Dragon Soul Master. The Chameleon Dragon Martial Soul was a subdragon of the Dragon-type Martial Soul. It was far inferior to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, but it had the ability to transform into invisibility. They could hide in various environments and wait for an opportunity to strike. Therefore, as soon as he appeared, he transformed his body into countless hyacinth grass. It was impossible for him to show his true form, which was very troublesome. Wang Feng found it very interesting. The Umbra Academy should be called the Umbra Academy. It emphasized on the word invisibility. They used all kinds of special martial spirits to conceal themselves and defeat their enemies. However, once there was a way to make the other party appear, it would be easy to deal with. Subsequently, Wang Feng also saw the Brutal Blood Academy. These members of the Brutal Blood Academy were somewhat similar to the ones from the Elephant Armor Academy. However, their entire bodies were scarlet red, and their robes were also imprinted with special patterns. It was similar to a tattoo. Most of their martial spirits were berserk-type beast martial spirits. When they went on stage, they directly entered a berserk state similar to fighting games, and then directly crushed their opponents with tyrannical strength. However, what was special was that even after going berserk, they didn't lose their rationality. Their battle thoughts were very clear. It was no wonder that Dean Fei Luan thought that this brutal Blood Academy would be a very strong team. Soon, it was the last match, Purple Star College and Blazing Academy. Apart from the 4 teams from Heavendo City, the other 10 teams were very clear about the name of Purple Star College's 9th opening, because the name was really too big. Even if it was a gimmick, it would still attract attention, let alone if it was real. Therefore, when Wang Feng walked on stage, all the teams that had finished their matches naturally looked at him with incomparable seriousness. They were also very clear about the name of the Blazing Academy. Moreover, this was an individual battle, not a team battle. They wondered if the Blazing Academy would bring out something new to make this 9th opening, who had created a legend in the qualifiers, suffered defeat in the first match. Wang Feng walked onto the stage. The first person sent out by the Blazing Academy was not Huo Wu Shuang, nor Huo Wu, nor the Fire Leopard Soul Master. Instead, it was the Martian Auxiliary-type Soul Master. Yes, it was the 2 Martian Auxiliary-type Soul Masters. Throughout the previous matches at the airport today, there was no such thing as letting an Auxiliary-type Soul Master take the lead. This really made people feel incomparably surprised. The first person to go on stage was actually an Auxiliary-type Soul Master with a Martian martial spirit. Even the people from Shrek Academy were a little astonished and couldn't understand what was going on. After this Martian Soul Master came on stage, he directly lit up his 1,000-year soul ring and released a special flame on the ground. Third soul skill, Scorching Volcano. After releasing it, there was a faint flow of flames on the stage. It was very strange. After releasing it, this auxiliary-type Soul Master did not directly fight with Wang Feng, but admitted defeat. This once again made many people feel extremely shocked. This soul skill should be a soul skill formed by absorbing the lava fire tortoise, right? Wang Feng frowned slightly and seemed to have guessed something. On the back of the lava fire tortoise stood a small volcano. During normal life, it would store flames in the volcano on its back until it erupted at a certain moment. These 2 soul masters with Martian martial spirits had not revealed their 3rd soul skills in the preliminaries. Until now, immediately after, the 2nd Martian auxiliary-type soul master went on stage. In the same situation, Hui Yuhao had used his 3rd soul skill right from the start of the match before admitting defeat. He did not even give Wang Feng a chance to make a move. Even the referee was a little dumbfounded. At this time, the flow of flames on the stage became even more dazzling. The 3rd Soul Master went on stage. It was the Agility-type Soul Master with the Fire Crane martial spirit. Interestingly, after this Fire Crane Soul Master went on stage, he did not attack Wang Feng. Instead, he directly flew up and then sprayed a huge amount of flames on the stage. An even more strange scene appeared. The scorching hot flames that were sprayed onto the stage were actually absorbed. After a while, the Fire Crane Soul Master fell from midair. His face was a little pale, and he directly admitted defeat. The crowd was even more stunned and even a little dumbfounded. Similarly, the 2nd Fire Crane Soul Master went on stage again and did the same thing as his brother. After spraying flames, he went down. Everyone could faintly feel that the temperature on the stage was slightly higher, but there was nothing strange. It was just that the flow of flames was more intense. Just like that, Wang Feng stood on the stage without moving and obtained 4 consecutive victories. But the crowd faintly felt that something was not right. End of this chapter. Chapter 380. I'm afraid this is a special kind of combination skill. The master frowned slightly. This kind of combination skill is very rare. It usually needs a certain amount of time to be used, but once it's used, it can't be underestimated. The previous two support-type soul masters were just the beginning. The soul skills they use can store fire energy and store it in the arena. It's like a volcano waiting to erupt, as long as it reaches a certain amount of energy. When the time comes, it'll be like an erupting volcano and pour into one person's body. It's equivalent to gathering the power of several people. It's really interesting and a rare combination. Take a look. This might be a combination skill that the Blazing Academy prepared for Joey Kai. Everyone watched attentively. At this moment, the fifth soul master went up. It was the Fire Leopard. As an assault-type soul master, he didn't stay still like the previous four soul masters. Instead, he directly used his martial soul to attack Wang Feng. The power in his body flowed out crazily, as if he didn't care about his soul power. His soul rings lit up, and he used 3 soul skills in succession. He was like a raging leopard running at high speed. He didn't hold back at all, as if he was determined to lose. However, if one were to pay attention, it would be easy to see that every time this Fire Leopard soul master landed on the stage, a ball of fire would appear with every step he took. It was like a ball of scorching fire, as if it was going to ignite the entire arena. Seeing this, Wang Feng frowned slightly. Black light condensed in his hand and formed a large iron hammer. Seeing the Fire Leopard soul master charging at him, he struck out with lightning speed and sent him flying with a blow of his iron hammer. At this moment, the Fire Leopard's body was scorching hot. Wang Feng didn't want to touch it directly. What if it ignited his entire body? The hammer formed by the mysterious underworld spike wasn't light. It was at least a few hundred kilograms. Under the hammer, the Fire Leopard's entire body seemed to change shape. The scorching fire on his body quickly disappeared, and he flew out of the arena. But when he was sent flying, all the fire on his body was quickly absorbed by the arena. This caused the fire on the arena to condense even more violently, like the surging dark clouds before a storm. The Fire Leopard's failure didn't shock the crowd. In fact, they faintly felt that something was wrong. The Fire Leopard Soul Master's suicidal charge took Joey Kai's hammer head-on. He didn't dodge, as if he was doing it on purpose, until Fire Dance entered the stage. As a control-type Soul Master, her fighting strength was extremely strong. Although she couldn't compare to Tang San, she was much stronger than an auxiliary-type Soul Master like Ning Rongrong. Most control-type Soul Masters actually possessed a certain amount of close combat ability. Furthermore, the Naruto Martial Soul was actually a type of Beast Martial Soul. It was classified as a control-type Martial Soul because Fire Dance's control ability was stronger. Last time, you didn't make me use Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun, but this time, you won't be able to escape. Fire Dance said coldly as soon as she stepped forward. Fire Dance's Dazzling Light was her 4th soul skill. Normally, she would need 4 or more teammates to use it, as it consumed a lot of soul power. Therefore, it was impossible for one person to release it. But now, Fire Dance's face was filled with confidence. After the referee announced the start of the match, almost instantaneously, Fire Dance first cast a ring of fire towards Wang Feng, and then her 4th soul ring lit up. She raised her palm to the sky, and the flames on the stage lit up crazily towards her position. Fire Dance's Dazzling Light. Fire Dance shouted softly, and the ball of light in her hand grew bigger almost in the blink of an eye. As if it was released instantly, it blasted towards Wang Feng. Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun, which had a lock-on effect, was like a blazing sun. This time, Wang Feng really didn't have a chance to interrupt because Fire Dance released it too quickly. It was so fast that everyone was shocked. How can it be so fast? Could it be because of the stage? Tang San was shocked. He had experienced this move before. At that time, the 4 people on the other side had gathered power for at least 6 to 7 seconds before releasing it. But this time, it was released in less than a second. It's definitely because of the stage's ground. The first 5 Soul Masters, starting from the first 2 auxiliary-type Soul Masters, turned the stage's ground into a ground that can absorb fire energy. The members behind didn't attack Joey Kai, but used fire to gather power. several people discussed. This special energy-gathering combination technique is so strong. It's simply prepared to defeat a powerful solo soul master like Jioikai. The terrifying fire dance of the brilliant sun shone on the faces of many team members, and they were all flushed with seriousness. This energy-gathering combination technique is quite interesting. Wang Feng nodded slightly. It was indeed specially prepared to deal with him. It must be the Blazing Academy's trump card to defeat him. Using the special soul skills of the two auxiliary-type soul masters, they set up the stage's ground to gather energy like a volcano. Then, when Fire Dance appeared, all the fire energy would gather on her body, allowing her to release Fire Dance of the brilliant sun at a faster speed. If it was a team battle, this energy-gathering combination technique would be somewhat useless because no team would let you use the ground to gather power for such a long time. But in a solo battle, it could play a huge role. It could even allow one person to kill the entire team. In a solo battle, there weren't many fancy tactics. One could only rely on one's strength. This was also the charm of solo battle. A team battle was a battle of tactics, and a solo battle was a battle of strength. The opponent could use this energy-gathering combination technique to condense the power of all the team members and gather all the power on one person. It was indeed very powerful. Moreover, Wang Feng felt that this energy-gathering combination technique wasn't so simple. Looking at the huge fire dance of the brilliant sun, it was very large, at least about 10 meters in diameter. What a pity! Wang Feng shook his head and took a deep breath. A black light condensed on his right hand. A pitch-black long saber with a length of 7 meters condensed impressively. Break! Wang Feng's body moved forward slightly. With 1 foot in front and 1 foot behind, the saber slashed directly at the huge fire dance of the brilliant sun in a half-moon arc. A pitch-black light flashed. The huge ball of light directly turned into 2 halves and exploded in mid-air, turning into countless sparks that fell on the stage. All of a sudden, everyone was stunned by what they saw. Like bursts of fire rain, the battle on the stage was extremely gorgeous. Fire Dance was stunned for a moment. It was at this moment that a hoarse voice rang in her ears. "You lost, go down." Unknowingly, Ju Ikai passed through the heavy rain of fire, and a pitch-black sharp blade fell silently, landing on her neck. Fire Dance clenched her hands, but the corners of her mouth hooked up. "You think you can defeat our Blazing Academy just like this? My Fire Dance of the brilliant sun isn't just to attack you. I admit defeat." After saying that, Fire Dance glanced at Jio Ikai indifferently and walked down the stage. In a chapter. Chapter 381. At this moment, following the explosion of fiery dance of the brilliant sun, the fire on the ground surged even more intensely. It's reaching its limit. The explosion of fiery dance of the brilliant sun just now caused the 2 support-type soul masters' third soul skills to reach their limit. Grandmaster's face sank. Although 9 Open's fiery dance of the brilliant sun was stunning and domineering, Hu clearly didn't want to use this move to defeat him. She just wanted to let her accumulation reach its limit. Huo Wushuang, who's next? I'm afraid there will be a big change. Tang Sun also faintly felt that something was amiss. Many other teams felt the same. At this moment, Huo Wushuang was the only one left in the blazing fire battle team. That feeling of unease still lingered in many people's hearts. 9 Opens had used an extremely gorgeous move to break fiery dance of the brilliant sun, but everyone faintly felt that it was even more terrifying. It wasn't that simple. At this moment, Huo Wushuang went on stage. The moment he stepped on the stage, the countless flames on the stage crazily surged toward his body. The horned fiery dragon, Martial Soul, directly lit up from his body, for soul rings flickered with dazzling light. However, Huo Wushuang's soul power fluctuations began to rapidly increase. From rank 45 all the way to rank 50, a full 5 ranks increase in soul power. The limit of soul power. Seeing this, The entire audience's breathing seemed to have stagnated. Apart from the increase in soul power, his aura and physique had also greatly increased. A scorching and violent flame aura filled Huo Wushuang's entire body. Powerful, incomparably powerful. Huo Wushuang's current strength has already far surpassed that of a rank 50 Soul Master. I'm afraid there are at most 2 or 3 people here who can fight with Huo Wushuang now. His martial soul even has some special changes. It's obvious that he has absorbed the accumulated flame energy. Tang Xin felt a little shocked. Is this the Blazing Academy's trump card? The bigger it gets, the stronger it gets. The last one has gathered almost all the strength of the previous 6 people. Tang San felt that even if he had fire immunity now, he might not be able to win. Because at this moment, Huo Wushuang's arms and chest had already transformed into a half-dragon, and they were covered in dense dark red scales. There was even a single flame-colored horn on his forehead. He possessed overwhelming strength and was no longer someone who could be defeated by a simple change in tactics. Huo Wushuang let out a low roar, as if he was spitting out a mouthful of hot air. He charged straight at Wang Feng. Soul skill, explosive flame, king fist. Even the corners of Huo Wushuang's eyes seemed to be burning with flames. The scales on his arms glowed with a dazzling light, as if they had locked onto Wang Feng. Wang Feng's eyes lit up. Instead of dodging, he threw out a punch as well. However, just as Wang Feng's fist was about to hit Huo Wushuang, a black light flickered on his arm, and the profound netherthorn rapidly formed an iron arm that covered Wang Feng's fist. Bang! A terrifying shockwave exploded from the point of contact between the 2 fists and spread out in all directions. Huo Wushuang's expression changed, and he retreated several steps. He felt his fist go numb. Another soul bone. Huo Wushuang looked at Jiu Ikai's arm that seemed to be covered with a layer of pitch-black armor. His expression changed drastically. Even a rank 50 Soul Master wouldn't be able to withstand the power of his fist. Furthermore, if he were to exchange blows with his opponent, the fiery energy on his fist would drill into his opponent's hand, causing severe damage to his opponent's entire body. However, his opponent had used that soul bone again. In the instant of the explosion, it had completely isolated most of the power of his fist. Even with his current soul power rank and powerful state, he couldn't cause any damage to his opponent. You're very strong now? At this moment, Jiu Ikai suddenly spoke in a hoarse voice. Is it difficult? Take a punch from me too. If you can take this punch, I'll admit defeat. Is that okay? There's no need to waste time. Everyone was stunned when they heard this. All right, Huo Wushuang shouted coldly. He didn't believe that he couldn't take a punch from his opponent in his current state. 4th soul skill, Azure Flame Scarlet Sun Body. Huo Wushuang shouted. The purple soul ring on his body lit up, and the horn on his head emitted an intense light. Under this light, the skin all over his body immediately swelled. His body grew taller by a few centimeters, and the dark red scales on his body almost covered his neck. Streaks of scorching light circulated around his entire body. His 4th soul skill could increase his entire state by 100%. It was his core soul skill and was somewhat similar to Dai Mubai's White Tiger Vajra transformation, but it was slightly stronger. Then, I'm coming. Wang Feng smiled. He directly rushed over. His speed wasn't fast, and it was a very ordinary charge. He stretched out his hand and threw an ordinary punch toward Huo Wushuang. Seeing this scene, everyone frowned slightly. Such a punch, let alone Huo Wushuang, even a rank 45 soul warrior would be able to take it easily, right? Huo Wushuang was stunned. He originally thought that Wang Feng's punch would be very powerful, but he didn't expect it to be so ordinary. However, the next scene stunned everyone. When the punch came crashing down, countless black lights crazily gathered towards Wang Feng's arm. Almost in an instant, it formed a huge pitch-black iron fist. It was at least 5 times bigger than a normal fist. That iron fist was even bigger than Huo Wushuang's 2 heads. Such a huge iron fist gave people an extremely shocking feeling. Boom! The punch came crashing down. An incomparable feeling of power directly exploded. Huo Wushuang felt as if he had been hit by a high-speed train, and his entire body flew out. The momentum was completely unstoppable, and Huo Wushuang flew out of the stage. In fact, his injuries weren't serious, but the iron fist was too big, and the impact it brought was too strong. This 9-1 Kai is too cunning. Huo Wushuang couldn't help but think crazily. What the hell is that soul bone of his? It can be used like this. Finally, Huo Wushuang flew out of the stage and landed on the ground. This result was incomparably shocking. This 9-1 Kai is really cunning. His punch borrowed the huge impact and only intended to send his opponent flying out of the stage. He didn't care if his opponent could take it or not. But that soul bone of his is really strong. Ma Hongjuan's eyes sparkled as he watched. It's too damn cool. Let me count. How many forms has he used now? At least 10, right? It can be said to be ever-changing, and each of them can bring about a cool effect. And at the same time, they can also give a huge blow to the enemy. Indeed, 9-1 Kai's seemingly ordinary punch just now suddenly turned into a huge iron fist the moment it focused on Huo Wushuang. It caught people off guard. Under normal circumstances, who would have thought that it would be like this? But no matter what, 9-1 Kai still won. Even if the Blazing Academy used this special combination technique, they still couldn't defeat 9-1 Kai. His legend seemed to be still going on. It will continue tomorrow, but the update time is not easy to adjust. End of chapter. Chapter 382. In the first round of the Blazing Academy's advancement match, the 7 of them had displayed unimaginable strength through their special combination skill. Huo Wushuang and Huo Wu both had extremely strong one-on-one abilities. If they were from a normal academy, Huo Wushuang would have been defeated by Huo Wu. This was because the third soul skills of the 2 auxiliary soul masters from Mars weren't as simple as they'd imagined. Wang Feng actually knew one of the biggest characteristics of this combination skill. It was a most efficient way to conserve soul power. This was because the ground could store soul power. For example, when Huo Wushuang released Fire Dance of the Brilliant Sun, although it didn't hit Wang Feng, it could still be absorbed by the ground. As long as it was a fire-type soul skill, it would be absorbed by the ground even if it didn't hit anyone on the stage. In other words, Huo Wushuang and Huo Wu had an extremely strong ability to fight continuously under this combination skill. If they could fight for a long time on the stage, even if they couldn't win, they could still win by attrition. When Huo Wushuang was on the stage, Feng Xiaoyan's team was probably the easiest to fight among the 15 academies. Wang Feng obviously couldn't afford to waste time with them, so he sent Huo Wushuang's huge iron fist flying with a mysterious underworld spike. Otherwise, he didn't know how long he'd have to fight. It was also because Wang Feng had increased the number of mysterious underworld spikes that he could form such a huge iron fist. However, seeing that even the powerful Huo Wushuang had been defeated, many teams' fighting spirit had weakened. This was also Wang Feng's other goal. He didn't want to fight every match. It would be best if it was the same as the qualifiers. If they weren't strong enough, it would be best if they could quickly admit defeat and forfeit. He didn't want to waste too much time. As the curtains fell on this match, in fact, as Wang Feng had expected, many teams had already planned to admit defeat against Purple Star College. There were also some teams that didn't believe that 9-1 Shot could win the entire tournament by himself. After watching this match, most of them didn't have much doubt. When Wang Feng walked down the stage, he happened to see Huo Wushuang and Huo Wu staring at him with unwillingness in their eyes. This was one of their trump cards, used in the advancement match specifically to deal with powerful soul masters like 9-1 Shot. They didn't expect to be defeated by 9-1 Shot like this. This was especially true for Huo Wushuang. There was no need to mention how sullen he was right now. He hadn't even been able to display his full strength in the arena before he was sent flying by a single punch from Zhou Yi. I refused to accept this. Huo Wushuang stared at Wang Feng. His voice was low and filled with anger and unwillingness. He was indeed unconvinced. If it were anyone else, they would be unconvinced. The rest of the teams watched quietly and did not interrupt. It is indeed very sullen. We used our trump cards and accumulated the power of 6 people. However, we were all defeated just like that. Ma Hongjun watched from afar and chuckled. If it were me, I would also explode mentally. It was as if 5 people had gone out fully equipped and were about to engage in a battle of life and death with the other party, only to discover that the other party had stolen their base. It's really difficult to defeat a 9-1. Xiao Wu shook her head. If we want to defeat him in a one-on-one battle, I'm afraid that strength isn't the key. That 6-ring Soul Emperor Senior said that we need to drag things out to deal with opponents stronger than us. In order to make them attack first, we have to dodge. After all, he's alone. Everyone nodded and couldn't help but think of the teachings of the 6-ringed Soul Emperor. It seemed that it was really unrealistic to think that one could defeat 9-1 in terms of individual strength. They had to play the role of a tag team battle and engage in a seesaw battle of attrition. In the end, they would exhaust the opponent to death. That was the correct way of thinking. Don't attack directly and don't take the opponent's moves. Blazing Academy's combination technique was indeed powerful. However, in the previous 5 battles, 9-1 didn't make a move at all. He was in his best state. Although you've become stronger, the other party hasn't become weaker. Wang Feng looked at Huo Wushuang and didn't say anything. He just pointed at the 3 teachers in front of him. What he meant was that if they were unconvinced, they could go and report it. What's the point of talking to me? Then, Wang Feng left. Only the people of Blazing Academy were left behind. They stared at each other, but had nothing to say. These people of Blazing Academy are so stupid. What can they do if they are unconvinced? Do they want a rematch? On the side of Skywater Academy, Shui Yuer couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Sister, if we meet 9-1, will we fight? No. Shui Bing shook her head. We can't. We don't have many substitutes. I feel that unless we have more than 10 Soul Masters, we won't be able to exhaust him. I don't want to fight him either. It's too much of a headache. Yes, if they fought against 9-1, they had no idea what kind of moves he would use. There was a feeling of not knowing where to start. Even if you were strong, you couldn't do anything. Although Shui Bing's 4th soul skill had completely recovered, she didn't dare to use it casually. Otherwise, it would be too powerful and could easily kill people. Unless she practiced a lot to control the power of her soul skill, she wouldn't be able to do it. Not only Shui Bing, but more than 10 other teams also had the same feeling. Just like that, until the 5th day of the advancement tournament. The 3 teams that Purple Star Academy met automatically admitted defeat. There was no other way. The highest soul power rank among them was only rank 41. On the 5th day, Wang Feng met the Shadow Academy. And in the past 4 days, Shrek Academy's record was as consecutive as before. The one with the most victories was Dai Mu Bai. This was because on the 3rd day, Blazing Academy met Shrek Academy. Once again, Huo Wu used her special soul skill. Huo Wu used Fiery Dance of the Brilliant Sun 3 times in a row and sent Tang San flying. It was as if she wanted to vent all her anger from being defeated by 9-1 on Shrek Academy. This directly caused Huo Wu and Huo Wushuang to go berserk. Although Tang San was immune to fire, he couldn't avoid the shockwave from the explosion of Fiery Dance of the Brilliant Sun. After 3 consecutive explosions, not only was Tang San sent flying, even Huo Wu was sent flying. It was clearly an irrational way of fighting. But fortunately, the 3 consecutive Fiery Dance of the Brilliant Sun emptied the energy stored in the arena. This directly caused Huo Wushuang to be defeated by Dai Mu Bai. In terms of strength, Dai Mu Bai and Huo Wushuang were both at rank 45. But in terms of martial soul quality and physical strength, Huo Wushuang was slightly inferior to Dai Mu Bai. But Huo Wushuang's attacks had a special burning effect, so overall, there wasn't much of a difference. Dai Mu Bai's victory was completely due to him exhausting Huo Wushuang's soul power. This was because he was conserving soul power in the end, so he had about 30% more soul power than Huo Wushuang. This made Huo Wushuang puzzled. After that day, Tang San rested for 2 days. Wu was also injured and rested for 2 days. In the royal hunting ground, there were healing-type soul masters that could quickly heal the two of them. Until the 5th day. On this day, Purple Star Academy and Shadow Academy had their first match. In a chapter. Chapter 383. In these 5 days, the Shadow Academy also maintained a winning streak. Moreover, the captain with the Shadow Demon Martial Soul had yet to enter the arena. Just relying on a few members was enough to give many teams a headache. They were truly a strong team in the advancement competition. A strong team naturally had the dignity of a strong team. Shadow Academy didn't give up against Top 9. I feel that third brother is Shadow Academy's nemesis. I wonder what Top 9 will do. Ning Rongrong asked curiously. Her 6 companions already knew about Tang San's special ability. It wasn't a secret. He could see through Shadow Academy's special ability. After all, he had the purple demon eyes. I feel that the captain isn't simple. Tang Sen looked at Shadow Academy's position and saw the captain. The captain of Shadow Academy looked 18 or 19 years old. He wore a black shirt and had an ordinary face. There were a few special tattoos on his face that were very inconspicuous. Those who didn't know would think that he was a substitute. It's time. Ma Hongjun pointed at the arena. A battle between strong teams naturally attracted people's attention, not to mention that it was a top 9 match. Since the first day of Blazing Academy's match, Purple Star College's opponents all admitted defeat in the next few matches, which disappointed many teams who wanted to explore top 9 strength. Fortunately, this match was worth watching. In the first match, Shadow Academy sent out the Flying Shadow Ladle Insect Soul Master, rank 39. Obviously, many other academies also saw that this was a test. Based on his observations over the past few days, this Flying Shadow Ladle Soul Master was mostly used as a vanguard to test the strength of his opponents. People from Shadow Academy didn't like to talk. Wang Feng looked at this Soul Master. He wasn't old, probably less than 20 years old. His male appearance was ordinary. To be precise, Shadow Academy Soul Masters were very ordinary in appearance and had quiet personalities. After the martial soul possession, this Soul Master directly disappeared in midair. This kind of invisibility ability was actually very interesting. Because he was wearing clothes, it meant that even his clothes could be invisible. Unfortunately, this kind of invisibility wasn't high level. It only hid the body and flew into the air. However, as long as the martial soul possessed the body, the Soul Master would emit soul power fluctuations. As long as he focused and used his mind to sense, he would be able to predict the other party's location. Unless the difference in soul power was too great, he would be able to dodge his opponent's attack, even if he couldn't see his opponent. This was also the reason why Wang Feng had said that Zhu Zhuqing's clones could be easily seen through. Without a special method, there was no way to conceal the undulations of soul force from Soul Master. This was the reason why Wang Feng's aura had been locked onto by the bloodwing dragon beetle in the Great Stardow Forest. Therefore, this type of concealment was very effective against ordinary Soul Masters. However, it was impossible for a high-ranked Soul Master. Not to mention, Wang Feng's spiritual power and perception had been greatly enhanced after he obtained the black-hooded spiritual skull. His second perception soul skill allowed him to sense the opponent's information, as well as their location. After the other party turned invisible, Wang Feng did not waste any words. A black light condensed in his hand, and a cloud-piercing arrow shot down the other party. In just a few seconds, the Flying Shadow Ladybug was defeated almost instantly. However, this was not out of everyone's expectations. There were a few rank 45 Soul Masters who were able to use the Flying Shadow Ladybug's weak soul power to roughly sense their opponent's location after they turned invisible. There is no need to mention such a powerful 9-to-1. The Shadow Academy was not in a hurry either. They directly sent their second Soul Master. This Soul Master was very interesting. His martial soul was the purple cherry dragonfly. It did not seem to be related to the Shadow Academy. However, his concealment abilities were very strong. He was even stronger than the flying shadow ladybug. Rank 41. He was also the vice captain of the Shadow Academy. His name was Li Ziying. He wore a light purple robe and looked very elegant and easygoing. His face was clean and ordinary. When he went up, he even smiled at Wang Feng. After the battle began, without any hesitation or nonsense, Li Ziying immediately possessed his martial soul. The 3 soul rings on his body quickly lit up. In that instant, he pressed his hands on the ground, and a pair of thin wings appeared on his back. Countless purple cherry trees grew from the stage. Purple cherry blossoms fell from the sky like rain. It was very beautiful. However, the entire audience was stunned. This Li Ziying was the same as the captain of the Shadow Academy. He had never gone up before. This was also his first time. It could be seen that the Shadow Academy placed great importance on the 9-1. However, his opponent's ability was extremely strange. I remember that the purple cherry dragonfly is a beast soul. How can he have an ability that only a plant's soul can have? Dai Mubai said in astonishment. He doesn't have a purple cherry blossom martial soul? Indeed, looking at the stage, countless purple cherry trees grew in just a few seconds. It was like a world of purple cherry blossoms. Even their figures could not be seen clearly. This was an ability that only a plant-type martial soul could have, not a beast soul. It should be a mutated martial soul. The master said, the reason why the purple cherry dragonfly is called the purple cherry dragonfly is because this dragonfly only lives in the purple cherry tree environment. When it leaves that environment, its life force will be greatly weakened. If he absorbs the soul ring of a 1,000-year purple cherry tree, he will have an ability similar to a plant-type soul master. However, it is limited to the purple cherry tree. This type of martial soul has a lot of limitations. It cannot absorb other plant-type martial souls. If I'm not wrong, this purple cherry dragonfly soul master is able to conceal his soul power undulations in the purple cherry tree environment. Feel it carefully. The master was very knowledgeable and quickly explained to everyone. Soon, everyone sensed it and was shocked. I can't sense that purple cherry dragonfly soul master at all. Dai Mubai's expression changed. He created this special environment to completely conceal his aura. That's because those purple cherry trees have his soul power undulations. Therefore, it's very difficult to sense his position with just his soul power undulations. Everyone understood. If they couldn't even sense his soul power undulations in such an environment, it was even better than concealment. It was almost impossible to sense him. Fortunately, we have Fatty. Against such a soul master, we can burn him clean with fire. Oscar poked Ma Hongjun. Ma Hongjun's phoenix flames could directly cause great damage to such a plant environment. That's not necessarily true. At this moment, the master frowned and said, "You guys, there's a change in those purple cherry trees." Everyone looked and saw countless purple cherry trees growing on the stage. They suddenly felt like they were mist-like. It's voidification, Tang San said. He has a soul skill that should be able to make these trees voidification. They can be temporarily immune to energy attacks. These purple cherry trees are no longer real, but their effects are still there. They can block the enemy's perception of soul power undulations. We can't sense his position accurately, and he's not afraid of being burned or frozen. It's obvious that he strengthened his soul skill to counter this weakness. After hearing this, Ma Hongjun withered like a frosted eggplant. End of chapter. Chapter 384. His soul ring combination is very strong. I wonder what his 4th soul skill is. I'm afraid it's an offensive soul skill. That's not right. Tang San suddenly said. Can you sense Jio Ikai's figure? Why can't I sense him? Tang San's words stunned everyone. Not only him. At this moment, many people were stunned. As the purple cherry blossoms danced in the sky, countless purple cherry trees stood up and decorated the entire arena into a purple cherry forest. Li Ziying had disappeared. Only the instructors from the other academies could sense him. The rest of the students couldn't sense his aura from the arena, nor could they see his figure. But Jiu Ikai had disappeared too. Yes, it was as if he didn't exist in the arena at all. Even the instructors couldn't sense him, let alone see him. Flinder, can you sense him? Lu Erlong frowned and asked. Your four-eyed owl's perception and soul power fluctuations are much better than mine. Everyone looked at Flinder. However, Flinder shook his head and said, I can sense that purple cherry dragonfly, Soul Master. But I can't sense Jiu Ikai either. In an instant, Tang San and the others were shocked. Even Dean Flinder couldn't sense him? What's going on? Tang San's eyes flashed with purple light. He activated his purple demon eyes, and countless energy flowed in the arena in front of him. But Tang San still couldn't sense Jiu Ikai's soul power fluctuations. Gone? Was it also a disguise? Tang San was really shocked. What kind of disguise could completely hide one's soul power fluctuations? He couldn't see through it even with his purple demon eyes. Tang San was even able to see through the dragonfly Soul Master's disguise. At this moment, he wasn't the only one who was shocked. In the arena, Li Xing was also shocked. His triple soul skill was able to create a small forest of purple cherry trees that could cover more than half of the stage. Using this illusory forest of purple cherry trees, he could perfectly conceal his soul power undulations as he hid within the forest of purple cherry trees and waited for an opportunity to strike. He did not know how to make himself invisible, but he could achieve a better effect than invisibility. In addition, he was wearing clothes similar to the purple cherry tree, so it was difficult to see him with the naked eye. And the enemy was in the purple cherry forest, so he could easily detect their every move. Therefore, under such circumstances, it was very easy for him to defeat his opponent. As long as his opponent's soul skill wasn't more than 10 ranks higher than his, he would be able to sense it clearly. There were too many ways to deal with his enemy. But now, he was actually unable to sense Hua Yuhao's position and soul power undulations through the purple cherry trees. Drops of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. This 9-open-1, I've never heard of him having such a strong camouflage ability. Furthermore, is this a soul skill? Of course it was a soul skill. This was the Black Hoop Spiritual Skull's first soul skill, Misty Shadow. It was able to completely conceal Wang Feng's aura. To be honest, under normal circumstances, even if Wang Feng used it, it would not be very effective. That was because there was no place to hide. The arena was only so big. One could not sense one's aura, but one could see one's body with the naked eye. He did not expect this Soul Master to create such a large area of purple cherry trees the moment he came up. This gave him a perfect opportunity to hide. One had to know that once his misty shadow was hidden and concealed his aura, even a 60,000-year soul beast would not be able to sense it. If Flandra's martial soul possessed his body, he should be able to sense it slightly. At this moment, the arena was very quiet. It was as if there were two assassins hiding in the forest, preparing to deal a fatal blow to their enemy. It would depend on who discovered who first. Dong dong dong. Li Xing seemed to be able to hear the sound of his own heartbeat. He felt as if his opponent was behind him. He turned around in fear, but could only see a purple cherry forest. He moved silently in the forest, using the purple cherry trees to hide his figure. But he still could not sense his opponent's aura. This was the strangest opponent he had encountered in so many years. He was even stranger than his captain. Right at this moment, a gust of cold wind blew from behind. Li Xing had goosebumps all over his body. He subconsciously wanted to turn around, but he heard a low voice. Don't turn around. The moment this voice sounded, Li Xing's fourth soul ring lit up, and he quickly turned around. Bang! He saw a huge force suddenly attacking from behind. He was instantly sent flying, passing through many illusory purple cherry trees and flying out of the arena. Seeing this, countless people's eyes widened. Until they saw that the person who was blasted out was Li Xing, their hearts sank. 9-1, he won again. As Li Xing was sent flying and landed on the ground, the purple cherry trees on the arena quickly disappeared, revealing 9-1's figure. The concealment ability that the Shadow Academy was so proud of was completely useless in front of 9-1. Didn't I tell you not to turn around? Wang Feng looked at Li Xing, who had landed on the ground in the distance, and shook his head. Otherwise, at least you could still attack me. Li Xing's defeat shocked everyone, but at the same time, they were also a little confused. They did not know how 9-1 had won. In the purple cherry forest, there was no battle, and then Li Xing was sent flying. After a while, everyone thought that there was only one possibility, and that was that 91 Kai had approached Li Xing without her noticing. For a moment, everyone was silent. If that was the case, it meant that the Shadow Academy had been defeated in what they were best at. With such a powerful concealment ability, they were unable to cause any damage to 9-1. Instead, they were unknowingly defeated by the opponent. Amidst everyone's silence, the captain of the Shadow Academy went on stage. Zhao Ying, Martial Soul Shadow Demon, rank 42 soul power. Up until now, no one had seen him make a move. 9-1, I admit that you're very strong. In terms of individual strength, you should be the strongest among the 15 teams. Zhao Ying was a very ordinary man. He was not old, had average looks, and was average in all aspects. As the captain, his soul power rank was not high. However, the reason why the Shadow Academy could qualify and be called a strong team was inseparable from him. But you can't beat me. Zhao Ying smiled. To be precise, I'm the one who restrains you the most. You have no chance of winning. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. The concealment ability that the Shadow Academy was best at seemed to be ineffective against 9-1. How could it restrain him? For a moment, everyone was extremely curious about this Zhao Ying. At the same time, after Zhao Ying said these two sentences, he did not say anything else. The referee gave the order. Zhao Ying immediately lit up his martial soul and instantly possessed his body. Yellow, yellow, purple, the standard soul ring configuration. A huge black shadow emerged from his body. Zhao Ying quickly hid behind the black shadow and disappeared. This shadow was about 3 meters tall and had 2 pitch-black claws. It looked like a human face and emitted a sinister and terrifying aura. It was the martial soul Shadow Demon. End of chapter. Chapter 385. As the team leader, Zhao Ying didn't seem to use any concealment abilities. Instead, she directly revealed her martial soul. It seemed like she wanted to use force. Take this. First soul skill, Shadow Devil's Charge. Zhao Ying's voice seemed to be coming from all directions on the stage, and there were no energy undulations from the Shadow Demon's soul rings that had lit up after she possessed him. However, this Shadow Devil was charging towards Wang Feng. Very few people knew about the Shadow Demon martial spirit. They only knew that it was an extremely rare beast martial spirit. It was similar to Huo Wu's Fire Shadow martial spirit. However, there was a huge difference between them. Everyone shook their heads when they saw the Shadow Devil charging towards Jiu Kai. If they wanted to fight Jiu Kai head-on, Huo Wu Shuang on the first day was already the best result. Wang Feng frowned slightly. His palm flashed, and a hammer was swung towards the Shadow Devil. Boom! However, when the hammer landed on the Shadow Devil, it seemed to hit air. There was no effect, and it passed through the Shadow Devil's body. It was ineffective. Wang Feng's eyes flashed. This Shadow Devil seemed to be immune to physical attacks. Everyone was shocked when they saw this. Jiu Kai's hammer was formed from his soul bones. It was naturally very powerful. His hammer didn't have any effect. In other words, this Shadow Devil is immune to physical attacks. Tang San was astonished. No wonder he said that he was the best at suppressing Jiu Kai. Everyone suddenly understood why Zhao Ying would say such words. They couldn't help but stare fixedly at the Shadow Devil martial soul. Up until now, Jiu Kai had only used physical attacks. Whether it was his fists or the various weapons formed from his soul bones, they were all based on pure strength. However, this Shadow Devil was completely immune to physical attacks. It was indeed the best at suppressing Jiu Kai. After the hammer missed, the huge shadow devil punched Wang Feng. However, this punch missed as well. To be precise, it passed through Wang Feng's body. Everyone was once again stunned when they saw this. No, his soul skill isn't a physical attack. It's a spiritual attack. Tang San's purple light flickered in the dark. He clearly saw that when this punch landed on Jiu Ikai's body trembled slightly. Immediately after, Jiu Ikai quickly pulled the two of them over, and there was a slight light in his pupils. It's a fear attack, Flinders suddenly said. The shadow demon should be a kind of beast martial spirit similar to the aged remnant dream martial spirit, but it doesn't create illusions. Instead, after possessing a body, it attacks and causes the opponent to feel fear. It's a special kind of mental attack. If it was a normal soul warrior, he would have been defeated by that attack. Umbra Academy is indeed very strong. This Zhao Ying, I'm afraid that only you, little 3, can slightly weaken his attack, but you probably won't be able to do anything to him. The master also nodded slightly, agreeing with Flinders' words. The Shadow Academy's captain's attack had shocked everyone present. Being immune to physical attacks meant that most of the soul warriors present were ineffective against him. However, the other party's attack was effective. He could be said to be invincible. Many people broke out in cold sweat as they watched. How were they supposed to fight? No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be able to hit the other party. Wang Feng also watched with rapt attention. It was undeniable that this Zhao Ying was indeed very strong. No wonder he was the captain. Being immune to physical attacks meant that his mysterious underworld spike was ineffective against him. The external attachment soul bone could only be used as the mysterious underworld armor. However, the other party's attack wasn't a physical attack, but a mental attack. The mysterious underworld armor was useless against him. From the strength that he had displayed, this Zhao Ying seemed to be the one who was most effective against him. The attack just now had caused Wang Feng's spiritual soul to waver slightly. It was obviously a very strong mental attack. If he didn't have the black-banded spiritual skull, he wouldn't have been able to withstand it. However, there's no absolute immunity in this world. There's only relative immunity. There's definitely a weakness. Wang Fengxin thought to himself. Just like Tang San's fire immunity, he could only be immune to fire-type attacks. However, he couldn't be immune to explosions caused by flames. Indeed, it was very easy for Wang Feng to defeat Zhao Ying. He could directly KO him with the Red Lotus Karmic Fire, or use the mysterious underworld Karmic Fire spike. Karmic Fire was the most effective against this kind of martial soul. However, Wang Feng couldn't use the Red Lotus, or he could use the soul-killing spear. The soul-killing spear's attack wasn't purely a physical attack. It could affect his opponent's spiritual soul. However, Wang Feng didn't want to use it in the qualifier round. How could he defeat his opponent when he was being countered? Wang Feng's heart stirred as he charged over once more. It's useless. Voices came from all directions. Second soul skill, Shadow Demon Whip. Countless vine-like whips appeared all over the Shadow Demon's body and attacked Wang Feng. However, they didn't hit Wang Feng, who was moving at high speed. Wang Feng dodged all of them. After that, Wang Feng leapt up. Black light gathered in his hands, and several weapons appeared. He threw them at the Shadow Demon. Swish, swish, swish. The weapons pierced through the Shadow Demon, but they didn't cause any damage. Everyone frowned when they saw this. The Shadow Demon was completely immune to physical attacks. Such an attack was useless. However, Wang Feng continued to attack. Several more weapons pierced through the Shadow Demon's body. His attack was still ineffective. Suddenly, everyone was silent. Aren't you going to use your martial soul? If you don't use your martial soul, you won't have a chance of defeating me. You'll only be wasting your soul power. Zhao Ying's voice came from all directions again. It looked like an echo. The Shadow Demon opened its mouth and let out a hoarse and strange laugh. No, you've already lost. Wang Feng turned around suddenly. A long spear appeared in his hand, and he threw it in a certain direction. There was only pure air in that direction. There was nothing there. Many people couldn't understand this attack. However, when the long spear pierced through the air, A blood-curdling scream suddenly rang out. Following this, a figure appeared in the air. She flew out and landed outside the arena. Everyone was stunned when they saw this. This person was Zhao Ying. Although your shadow demon martial soul is immune to physical attacks, you are not immune to physical attacks. Wang Feng said slowly in the arena. When you disappeared into your martial soul, everyone thought that you were possessed by your martial soul. In fact, you were just invisible. Then, you controlled your martial soul to attack from the dark. Your martial soul is actually a tool martial soul, not a beast martial soul. You can't be possessed by your martial soul. Yes, the shadow demon was very strong. However, Zhao Ying couldn't be immune to physical attacks. Without a beast martial soul possessing her, she couldn't be so strong. She was completely immune to physical attacks. This meant that even the strength of a titled Dalu was useless against her. In a chapter 386. If that was the case, then he was almost invincible. But in fact, if this martial soul was so powerful, it was impossible for it to not have any reputation in the Douluo world. Therefore, this martial soul had a fatal flaw. The flaw was that it was a tool martial soul, not a beast martial soul. The most obvious difference between the two was martial soul possession. Only a beast martial soul could possess a martial soul, and a tool martial soul could not. When Zhao Ying disappeared into the shadow devil, the inertia thought that it was his martial soul possessing his body. In fact, he only had an invisibility ability similar to the flying shadow ladybug martial soul. It was very likely that it was the torso soul bone that allowed him to hide his body and even block part of the soul power fluctuation. On the other hand, he controlled the shadow devil, making everyone's attention, concentration, and perception on the shadow devil, completely ignoring him. Just like this, they thought he was attacking, but in fact, he was secretly controlling the shadow devil to attack. His voice was the same. His voice came from all directions, and it was easy to misunderstand that it was the shadow devil's voice. In fact, it was also a kind of confusing effect. In addition to what he said at the beginning, the most restrained chance is 9 to 1. It was easy to fall into the misconception that he was completely immune to physical attacks. It had to be said that Wang Feng was also misled by this inertia at the beginning. He originally thought that the opponent's weakness should be that not every part of the shadow devil's body was immune to physical attacks. So he used weapons to attack every part of the shadow devil. In the end, he found that every part was immune, and then he felt that it was too strange. Even if the martial soul possessed his body, how could every part be immune? This meant that there was no weakness at all. And this kind of shadow devil, Wang Feng suspected that even energy attacks were ineffective or there was a large degree of immunity. That was because when he attacked, he discovered that the shadow devil was just a shadow. The sharp blades he shot out contained a terrifying force that could pierce through the air, and they also contained some wind attribute energy attacks. However, they were unable to cause any damage. Even if it was just a suspicion, it might not be true. The ability of this shadow devil martial soul was too strong. At this time, Wang Feng thought of a possibility. Maybe he was not possessed by a martial soul, but a tool martial soul. Zhao Ying was not in this shadow devil at all, but in the dark. Thinking of this, Wang Feng was awakened, and then used the soul bone's second perception soul skill to sense the opponent's position. Only then did he realize that this was indeed the case. If he continued to be stuck in this train of thought, Wang Feng wouldn't even think of using his skull's perceptive soul skill when his opponent was right in front of him. Furthermore, Yu Hao's position was constantly changing, and his soul power undulations weren't very strong. If Yu Hao didn't pay close attention, he wouldn't have been able to sense him. He must have some kind of special soul bone that allowed him to conceal himself and, at the same time, reduce his soul power undulations. When Zhao Ying landed on the stage, everyone heard 9-1 Kai's words. For a moment, many people came to a realization. From the very beginning, Zhao Ying had been guiding everyone's train of thought to follow his train of thought. It could be said that he was very cunning. Now that Wang Feng thought about it, the people from the Dark Shadow Academy all fought as soon as they came. Normally, they wouldn't speak to expose themselves. But this Xiao Ying had immediately said that 9-1 odds was no match for him, and that he could restrain 9-1 odds. This obviously exposed too much information. Why would he do that? Because of this, the crowd was naturally puzzled. After seeing the ability of his martial spirit, they came to a realization. It turned out that his martial spirit was so powerful that it could restrain the 9 split. Then, he shifted everyone's attention to his martial soul. So that's how it is. The master was slightly enlightened. This shadow demon martial spirit is actually a tool martial spirit. It can only be used externally and can't be possessed. He has been misleading us all this time. I knew it. How can there be such a powerful martial spirit in this world that can be completely immune to physical attacks? Dai Mubai was also somewhat relieved. He has been misleading us from the beginning. Even my attention was on his martial spirit. Even if I used the purple demon eyes, I would only be looking at his martial spirit. I wouldn't pay attention to him. Tang San shook his head. The people from the Dark Shadow Academy are really hard to deal with. If we're not careful, we'll fall into their trap. This 9-1 odds is really powerful to be able to discover the opponent's fatal flaw so quickly. Who would have thought that the opponent would slowly lead you into his trap from the beginning? From this, it could be seen that the people from the Dark Shadow Academy were special. No wonder they could qualify with a low soul power rank and become a strong team. And it could be seen that until now, no team had been able to see through this captain's secret until they met 9-1 odds. Wang Feng walked down the stage. Xiao Ying had already stood up from ground. I'm impressed. Xiao Ying smiled and said, I've fought 35 matches in the tournament and countless battles before that. No one was able to discover the secret of my martial spirit. They all thought it was a beast martial spirit. You're the first to discover my secret. However, even if you could see it, how could you sense my location? Yes, his secret wasn't just his martial spirit. There was also invisibility. From a moment he entered the shadow demon, he used his soul bone to conceal himself and greatly reduce his soul power undulations. He used his mind to control the shadow demon to attack. Normally, even if the secret of his martial spirit was discovered, it would be very difficult to detect him, unless the gap in soul power was very large. Because this was the ability of the soul bone. Wang Feng smiled. They were both soul bones. He had the black-banded spiritual skull, a product of the system. It was at least 100,000 years old. The quality of the other party's soul bone couldn't be higher than his. Naturally, the other party's soul skill couldn't be stronger than his. Even if he couldn't sense it, there were other ways to find the other party's location. However, Wang Feng didn't say much. He only nodded slightly and left. Looking at 9-1 odds' back, Xiao Ying was deep in thought. This 9-1 opening was really not an ordinary level of strength. Xiao Ying hadn't seen the other party fight in the qualifiers. She had only heard about it. She didn't know his performance in the qualifiers. This was because the qualifiers couldn't be broadcasted or stored. At most, it could only be described verbally. Therefore, she didn't know in detail how this 9-1 odds defeated more than 20 teams by himself. The only information she found out was that the other party's soul bone was very strong. The information she found out was that he was very strong. Only now did she feel that this person wasn't just strong in terms of strength. He was also very intelligent. To be able to react so quickly and find his position under his careful guidance, Xiao Ying knew that she would not be able to do it if she were in his shoes. Just like that, following the defeat of the Shadow team, everyone was amazed at the strength of the Shadow team. At the same time, they were also fearful of 9-1 odds strength and intelligence. A person with incomparably powerful strength was nothing to be afraid of. The most frightening thing was that if he had a calm and clear mind in battle, that would be too terrifying. Evidently, the Elemental Academy already knew that 9-1 odds was such a person. As for the other teams participating in the qualifiers, they finally understood why 9-1 odds was able to defeat the entire Heaven Do City's qualifiers alone. Continue at night. End of chapter. Chapter 387. After Wang Feng walked off the stage, it was soon time for the second match of the day. The match between the Purple Star Academy and the Umbra Academy had caused many strong teams to retreat and consider whether or not they should avoid the battle. Whether it was Blazing Academy's special fire-storing soul skill, Shadow Demon, or the Purple Cherry Dragonfly, they were all not simple. But these two academies were defeated by Purple Star College one after another. Those things could be said to be the team's trump cards, and, generally, they would not be easily revealed. But even so, they could not win 9-1. Many teams could not help but ask themselves, if we take out our trump cards, can we win? If we can't, it means that we are completely exposed. The consequence of being exposed is that if Zhaoying appeared in the next few days, the secret of his shadow demon martial soul would have been guessed, and it would not be so difficult to deal with him. Blazing Academy's fire-storing soul skill was the same. Once the trump card was exposed, there would always be a way to deal with it. Wang Feng did not think so much, but he hoped that these academies could be more self-aware. Stop fighting, just admit defeat. If you continue, I will really have to take out something real. Wang Fengxin thought so. To be honest, although he did not remember the original story clearly, Wang Feng knew that Shadow Academy was not a strong team in the advancement match, and Blazing Academy was not exactly the same, especially this Zhao Ying. At that time, Wang Feng's mind also flashed, otherwise he might still be in the arena now. After walking off the stage, Wang Feng glanced at the other teams. Seeing that their expressions were not too good, his heart relaxed. He estimated that in the following matches, these teams would not have any thoughts about him. After the match, Wang Feng watched the other teams fight. Most of the gazes fell on Tang San's team. Today, they were going to fight the Botany Academy. The Botany Academy did not have much to fight. Without needing Fatty to go up, Jing Ling, Huang Yuan, and Tai Long had already defeated two of the three. Once Fatty went up, he took them all in one set. His current Phoenix Flames were not simple. The members of the Botany Academy basically did not have any additional fire-resistant soul rings, so they were really weak. Even the last Soul Master with the Scarlet Flame, Thorn's martial soul, was no match for Fatty, and was defeated in a few moves. In terms of explosive attack power, Fatty was the strongest among the seven. Basically, once he used his fourth soul skill, his opponent wouldn't even have a chance to resist. The only one who could match his explosive power was Zhu Zhuqing. Therefore, the 5 plants were skewered by Fatty, which was a magnificent feat. As for the other two battle teams, Wang Feng took note of them as well. The Beast Academy was too easy for him. After being tempered by the Red Lotus Hellfire in the Icefire Yin-Yang well, his body was already immune to most poisons. Tang San was in the same situation. Facing the Beast Academy was equivalent to having their combat strength weakened by 20%. There was no evidence. As for the other Brutal Blood Academy, Wang Feng was even less afraid. Wang Feng wasn't afraid of teams that liked to fight head-on. He didn't even need to bring out anything real. The Dark Nether Spike could be taken away in one set. After watching the game, Wang Fengxin sighed with emotion. Then, he changed his clothes and went to the house where Tang San and the others were. At this moment, the discussion in the house was in full swing. Fatty, you're really strong. 1 against 5. This was Oscar's voice. Speaking of which, how should we fight against the Dark Shadow Academy? We can only rely on Third Brother. There's nothing we can do. A chuckle sounded, and Wang Feng recognized it as Ma Hongjuan's voice. Fortunately, 9 openings revealed Zhao Ying's secret today. Otherwise, we would be in trouble if we met them. This was Dai Mubai's voice. Wang Feng even saw the master at the door. These academies are not simple. The master saw Wang Feng coming over and whispered, "Fortunately, you met Zhao Ying today. Otherwise, they would be really difficult to deal with." Wang Feng shook his head and thought to himself, "There must be a way. By the way, where's little 3? Wang Feng stood at the door for a while and didn't hear Tang San's voice. Fire Dance from Blazing Academy called him out. The master said, 2 days ago, in the competition with Blazing Academy, that girl was too angry. Not only did she hurt Tang San, but she also hurt herself. She should be here to apologize. Hearing this, Wang Feng was a little stunned. He remembered that Fire Dance didn't have a strong hatred for Tang San, like in the original work. There was no reason for her to do this. Could it be that because she couldn't beat him, she vented her anger on Tang San? If that was the case, it would be a sin. After chatting with the master for a while, Wang Feng saw Tang San come back in a hurry. "Brother Feng, why are you here?" Tang San's surprise shout made the people in the room quickly come out. "Didn't the teacher say that you won't participate in a rank advancement competition? Are you here to see us?" Tang San said with a smile. Before coming, the master said that Wang Feng wouldn't participate in the rank advancement competition and asked them to find a way to deal with him. "Yes, I heard that you were injured, so I came to see you and ask how you were doing." Wang Feng coughed a few times. Suddenly, he lowered his voice and said, "Little 3, you smell like a girl. Be careful." Hearing this, Tang San was stunned. At this time, Xiaowu came over and sniffed suspiciously. Then, she walked closer to Tang San and whispered, "Brother, why do you smell like a girl?" Speaking of this, Xiaowu's face changed. "Is it fire dances? Come here and tell me." Then, Xiaowu pulled Tang San away. "TSK, TSK. Third brother is not lucky enough to enjoy the beauty's kindness." Ma Hongjun chuckled. "Captain, you didn't come. This rank advancement competition is as exciting as the team competition. Just now, I defeated everyone from the School of Botany by myself. After cultivating for so long, this is the first time I've had such a good fight." Wang Feng smiled and said, "Don't be too happy. Next time, if you meet a plant-type soul master with strong fire resistance, you'll be tied up like a turkey." Ma Hongjun, "Wang Feng, how long did you stay? Until he finished?" Ning Rongrong walked to Wang Feng and said happily, "Wow, I feel so bored. I can't go on stage, although it's exciting to watch. Oscar and I have been frozen for a long time." Oscar even went on stage once. Towards the end, she sounded very wronged. "Isn't it to your liking?" Wang Feng said. "When did you become so battle-hungry? Aren't you the kind of person who will never stand if you can lie down? You want to stand after lying down for so long?" Ning Rongrong said with a smile, "Why don't you play with me?" Wang Feng glared at her. Of course, he knew what Ning Rongrong was thinking. She just wanted to talk to him alone. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.